My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Jak II, which is an open world platformer developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony for the PS2 in 2003.
This dog is naughty.
Yeah. Did a bad thing.
Big dog did a bad thing, honey.
Yeah.
This episode is executive produced by Eric. We really appreciate you, Eric.
Yes.
And this is a game that a lot of people love, and Eric loved, and we hated. And we always try to get out in front of this, and some people hate when we do it, but also it feels weird if we don't. And I don't know what to say. This is just going to be a thing. This is going to be about 2 to 2.5 hours of saying bad things about Jak II and then joking.
Yep.
Making jokes. And if that doesn't sound good to you, you should know upfront.
Yes. I'm not going to apologize to anybody who likes Jak II or Jak and Daxter or Crash Bandicoot or any of this, except for Eric, who very graciously supported us.
Yes.
And, it's just one of those things. It is a little bit of a roll of the dice when you executive produce and pick a game and all of that. Like,
sometimes we don't like the thing.
So sometimes we don't like it, and it's no hard feelings. I'm going to say very bad things about specifically feeling like Naughty Dog wishes me ill and me wanting to hunt them all down one by one.
I am a pig in shit because this is a very rare opportunity for a game that you like a lot less than I do.
Okay.
Like I didn't like this.
Okay.
I mean, in fact, I in the lowercase hate. Like I hated it. I didn't like playing it. I had a bad time. I didn't have the Crucible that I feel like you had, largely because I played it on emulator with save states.
Yes.
Even though that meant it ran at like roughly 80 to 90% speed.
That sounds like its own kind of hell.
It wasn't great. I just decided it was the hell I wanted.
Yeah.
But it just meant I had to repeat things less, which is what would kill me in this.
That's and that is the primary, like, there are the bones of something that would have been very interesting and good for its time that just didn't age well in this. I don't know how anybody played this and thought it was a functional product.
It's not just functional. Like this was what big games were.
Yes.
It's fucking nuts. Like I think that hopefully I hope Eric agrees, and I don't know. I don't want to speak for him. But even though I hated this, I think it's really interesting to look at a game from this era because we don't get things like this exactly. Anymore. So I think there'll still be kind of value in the episode, but in terms of a recommendation or in terms of my experience, it was pretty fucking miserable.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of things about this that are particularly, there's some things that are good for its time.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything other than maybe the soundtrack that is good now. The soundtrack's pretty good.
I don't like the soundtracks.
Well, there's probably a little association going on, probably a little bit.
Probably.
I also was listening to the Vaporwave 80% speed mix, so maybe I was just like, oh, maybe I do like Godspeed. This is great. I just like, ooh, explosions in the sky, slow-mo music. Cool. I usually don't like that shit, but this is kind of doing it for me. That could be what was going on. Similar to how like all the songs on Chrono Trigger when played at twice speed are actually pretty good as well. Yeah, speed is an illusion. I no longer care what speed games want to be played at. I'll make my choices now.
Yeah. So, and also, I'm not going to blame Naughty Dog for the recent loss that I suffered in my family. that would be unfair.
Arguably.
That would be borderline unreasonable.
Yeah,
this also
borderline. There's an argument. Honorable people can differ, but like, yeah, there's an argument that'd be unreasonable.
Yeah, this compounded. I played it on the PS5 from the PS4 version or whatever. And I'll tell you at what point I switched over to using the debug mode. Just and my practice for that. But yeah, this is I don't care for this one single bit. It might be in like the bottom 5 of things we've done for the show.
Wowie zowie, I love it. Yeah, it's probably bottom 10 for me. So it's still slightly more better, but like still rough stuff. It's funny too, because what's interesting about that is that we both had to mitigate it in some way, and neither way was like particularly. It didn't make it, for me at least, it didn't make it fun. Like having the save states didn't make it like good. I just noticed the spots where I felt like there's an unfair death or it asked me to go back too far. Like I didn't save scum it, like every 2 seconds or anything. I was trying to create reasonable checkpoints.
Yeah.
Which the game did not do for me.
No.
I was trying to create reasonable checkpoints, but it's just, there are so many times where there is a lack of a reasonable checkpoint.
Yeah.
And those times are all of them. Like basically, like there's a lot of in particular things about this. But my point being is that even having save states or having a debug mode, neither of which like really fixes it.
No.
To me, like the problems of this are kind of bone deep. And
yeah,
getting all
they're bone deep. But whenever I complained about it on social media, there is somebody saying it sucks. I love it.
There's no matter how badly something sucks or what way it sucks, there's somebody who's out there like that's like this sucks. I love it.
Yeah,
it is a tough attitude for me to get into.
And also, I bring that up just to say that like this game also like the fan base knows exactly what it is and what they're doing here. Like it, people know that this is just unreasonably like difficult is the wrong word for it. Because
it's unfair. Like in a lot of
unfair.
places, it's unfair and purposely frustrating. As it is ethos. But this sucks. I love it is things you say about clock tower games, not things you say about this. So this is a sequel to Jak and Daxter, the precursor legacy. The balls on naming your first game that. Naughty Dog's follow up to their work on the Crash Bandicoot series. This is for modern gamers, Naughty Dog wasn't always The Last of Us. They made some of the worst games on the PS1 and 2. As well.
They made the game. They made the very bad games that defined those generations. So Jak, who is a teenage elf man, and Daxter, who is an extremely horny little otter creature. And we
got a tight 10 on Daxter coming.
We do.
Like we can't summarize Daxter just yet.
No. But they and a couple of other dumbos get sucked into this strange dystopian world after the events of the first game using some technology that they found. And Jak is experimented on by this ruler of a place called Haven City, Baron Praxis. For 2 years. Yeah.
Now, Cole, it doesn't seem like the city is very much of a haven.
No, it kind of seems like the opposite.
Whoa. Jak is infused with a toxic substance called Dark Echo. Fuck me.
Dark Echo's getting up. Dark Eco. Dark Eco.
Dark Eco. This shit that is just phlebotomum, or whatever. It's midichlorians. It's that kind of garbage.
It's the same stuff that transformed Daxter from another intolerable thing into what he is now.
Into an Otzel, which is an otter weasel.
Yes.
This gives him Wolfman powers, basically. He can turn into a darker and edgier version of Jak and claw stuff.
Yes.
Let's talk about the type of game this is, though, before we clown on all these individual plot elements that, I understand. And also just to head this off, I understand they aimed at kids.
Yes.
And we're adults, very much so.
I also like the place of nostalgia that this takes. Like this probably for a lot of people was what Sonic the Hedgehog was to me.
Yes,
probably, and like that's not even really an age thing. I, am playing this game and just fucking hating it. I had to keep in mind that Jak and Daxter is Dennis from the level, like one of his favorite series. Like
Oh, Jesus Christ,
he
Dennis.
loved it. He loved
Oh.
it back, like just back in the day, right?
Okay.
I don't know if he like still goes to bat for it, and I've never heard him express like an awful lot of fondness for Jak II in particular. But like, I know I know people like some of my best friends love this,
or Jak fans. It is a thing where like your individual trash that was served to you as a kid will break through more defenses.
Yes,
and I the reason I say that is I want to ask people who feel defensive about this episode to consider that maybe this is their specific youthful trash, and then also to consider like what the perspective might be for somebody for whom it is not.
I can't have your nostalgia. I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I'm the person I am. I can't not have that, or I can't have it. Even trying to put on my objective glasses, I couldn't see the good in this. There were parts of it that were funny, either intentionally or unintentionally, but there was nothing about it that seems cool. And the plot doesn't seem particularly interesting. It feels like a big cliche pile up to me, even though that is something that I think it was a lot of people's first exposure to a lot of those plot elements, so it loomed large. The type of game this is interesting because we don't make it exactly anymore. This was it reminds me a little bit of early PC games where they're just kind of every genre.
Yes.
It's got Grand Theft Auto DNA to it in that there is a little bit of an open world, but there are so many things grafted onto this. It is a lot of mini games. And one of the key things that are frustrating about this game that I was thinking about is I realized that when like a developer puts something in to break up the pace, right? Like this is this kind of game, but we're going to have a racing sequence. This is this type of game, but we're going to have a turret sequence. This is this type of game, but you're going to go skating for a little while, that kind of thing. It is almost always misguided to make that part the hardest part of your fucking game.
That should really be a walk. Yeah,
it should be a total walk, and developers do it all the time. Like even modern developers, like the Dead Space turret section. I lost that fucking race in Chrono Trigger several times. Like if you're just going to take a thing and be like, now here's a totally different gameplay mode you haven't practiced, isn't related to our core mechanics, make it a fucking victory lap. Like you're breaking up the pace. Don't make it something you try over and over and over, and then by the time you quote unquote like master it, you don't do it again for another 3 hours because it's just this little side diversion.
You know
it's weird.
You know what game did a really good job with that?
What is that?
Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah, Final Fantasy VII does do a really good job of that. The mini games are diversions in that game. I agree. Like that's a great thing about Final Fantasy VII. This game does not do that. It's trying to do it all in this weird kind of game that is all games at once. Which
was a flex at the time, like going seamlessly between all these different kinds of things, like this is, I'm not going to step in here and say that this isn't like technically impressive for 2003, the way that Jak and Daxter was technically impressive for like 2001. Like, oh my God, no loading screens. Look at how far I can see. Look at how big this is. Like, that's, cool.
They move well. Like they have, there's personality to the movement. Things like that. Like the animations are nice, and fluid. They're not always readable as I want them to be, but like they look nice. There's not a lot of playtesting in this, so I couldn't find a lot of data about this.
No,
but you got a note in here as a joke, but I wanted to bring it up because one of the big issues with this would have been solved by extensive playtesting, which would have been checkpointing and resource dispersal.
Yes.
There are multiple ways in this game to get soft locked because you don't have any more ammo. There's nothing to do but kill yourself and try again. There are multiple places like where there's no way. I ran into both problems. I had no ammo or health when I needed it. Also, I would end up in situations where the game was giving me tons of that stuff and I could not imagine a use case for it.
Nope.
Like I couldn't imagine a series of events that brought me here needing health.
Right.
Like I just started. So am I supposed to shuttle run back to the beginning of the level? Well, the levels aren't really designed for that. There's so many platforms that fall after you go through them once. So I'm not really meant to be backtracking at all.
No.
What do you like? There's no care. There's a serious lack of care put
Mhm.
into the economy and those specific, like the player relief parts of level design,
Yeah.
not necessarily the wireframe, which
Mhm.
some of it is kind of good. I think
Yeah.
if with better checkpoints and with easier, like sharper controls would have been fine. It's not
Yeah.
the wireframe. It's literally the part of level design that you do in the not the beginner's guide, the circle, the magic circle, like
Yeah.
just placing treasure and obstacles at appropriate intervals.
Like honestly, fixing this problem, like changing nothing else but fixing this, would raise this like 2.5 letter grades for
Yeah,
me.
it would beach itself up onto fine.
Yep.
I don't think this is ever going to be something that's going to be really for me.
Uh-huh.
But what it would do is it would beach itself up to Ratchet and Clank levels.
Uh-huh.
Like we did that Ratchet and Clank game, and I have very few strong feelings about that. Like that was fine.
Yeah.
I would love to come away from this having no strong feelings about it. I didn't get there. I didn't get to neutral on this. And it's weird too, because that could be fixed with a mod hack. It feels like if somebody were to do it, like if adding more checkpoints and health pickups feels very technically possible to fix this game.
I mean, in the 20 years since this game came out and the number of like reissues that it had and how big, this studio is, or like how much they are capable of subcontracting people, like if they cared at all about this game or its story, like they so could do a softening pass on this if they wanted to in some kind of remaster and like leave the sicko mode for people who it sucks. I love it. But like, I mean, just a real lack of care is kind of shown in just like, no, like nobody actually touched this. It feels like before it shipped out the door.
The lack of care is entirely in how it actually plays in that specific way, because there's tons of care put into animations, music. I think the story, as much as I think it's, shown in nonsense, like I know this isn't made by a Japanese developer. I just mean, Saturday morning cartoon nonsense. It's not necessarily phoned in. It's fine. There's some effort went into it. There's like a voice cast that's like relatively winning, other than Daxter's voice actor, who I don't know, should walk into the ocean with pockets full of rocks. I don't want him to die. I just want him to have a hard time. He can take him out.
Have a very bad day at the beach, Daxter.
And really, honestly, if I could somehow reach the character, if he weren't fictitious, I would.
You got Clancy Brown slumming it here. Like, so the basics of a Jak and Daxter is kind of 3D platforming in these large levels. You've got a double jump and then a couple of degrees of like modifying that jump. So you can do like a roll jump to jump really far, or like duck and then jump, to reach higher.
Things like that. Charge jump. This stuff is all it's not as bad as it could be. Like we've played way worse 3D platformers, on the show, but it's not sharp, I don't think. I would find specifically finding the spot in which you can actually clear a ledge versus just kind of like rub up against it and fall down did not feel super consistent to me. This, and part of it is just the era it came from. Like that and the camera both made this not feel like a particularly fun 3D platformer for me.
The camera was a real problem. You have basically, so you can only control it on one axis, the horizontal, and oftentimes it will get caught on stuff or stuck on things. Usually like a thing of the era. But even in the same year, like Prince of Persia: Sands of Time gave you the full 3D camera. And also like the ability to press that button to like zoom out and get a better sense of the space, what have you. The camera, and specifically the angle that it is kind of canted down, does not work with the level design to the point where, you will think like, okay, I'm just walking, and then you just fall because you did not see that was a ledge up in front of you.
Happen a lot. So the moving around, not super fun. Weirdly, there isn't tons of like actual 3D platforming challenges in this. Like there are some, but it is meant to be a variety game. So a lot of the levels are more run and gun or more combat. You have very simple melee combat in this. You have a homing punch and then a little Crash Bandicoot spin attack that you do here.
Note on that homing punch, if you press that and there's no enemy around, you are just going to launch forward, which will send you off of a ledge. So be sure you don't punch when you mean to kick.
And it is a thing that is used for speedrunning tech. and stuff. So like this is the kind of thing that people will gerrymander into being like good expressive movement, like Mario 64. You know, that little thing. But for me, I also just fell off ledges.
Yeah.
I never felt mastery of my Jak enough to where I was capable, and I'm not like a great Mario 3D platformer, but I couldn't do the stuff I can do in those games in this.
Yeah.
You get a gun.
I have a real problem with the gun, Gary.
Yeah. Wait, the gun sucks. it's one of the worst guns. The fucking blows.
Yeah, so you got 4 modes. Like that's, whatever. Conceptually, you can switch between them at any time after you get those upgrades, like different nozzles for the thing.
How uncool is it to have one gun that just emulates all the regular guns? And like it's meant to be this, like you get the morph gun and it's like, ooh, here's a blaster attachment and stuff. And I kept expecting that would be a new like serious verb, not the equivalent of just getting the second gun in the FPS evolution.
Yeah,
the third person shooter evolution. Like getting a shotgun in this didn't feel particularly exciting. Or
No,
getting the long range gun. It's just all the same gun, but they're treated as very exciting.
I liked it. I liked how it was done in Control.
Sure.
Yeah. That game had a lot more, kind of aesthetic niceties going for it too. So yeah. But like, you have like a shotgun, you've got like a little pea shooter distance kind of thing, like a Gatling gun that charges up, and then like a super gun, like your Magnum, does a charge shot kind of deal.
The Peacemaker, or the Peacekeeper, or whatever.
Any of this could be fine if you could aim it.
Yeah,
you can't aim. What the fuck?
Yeah, there's no reticule and there's no lock on, which again we understand. This is an old game. But those
Grand
things,
Theft Auto had lock on. It was bad, but they had it.
Yeah, there were solutions.
Siphon filter.
Siphon filter there were solutions for this.
Yeah,
they didn't want this is an intentional choice, I think. It makes it really hard and you miss. And this is combined with the fact that ammo is very limited, which is combined with the fact that ammo pickups are placed by like throwing a handful of darts at a board, and ammo doesn't restore after you die.
Nope.
So that means that if you have a failed attempt, you can be those soft lock situations I was talking about. That's when that happens.
Yeah.
I used all my ammo. I can't fucking aim. I missed a lot. Now I have no ammo, and I died. Well, even killing myself and restarting this doesn't help me. I don't have enough weapons to finish this.
Nope. And it's also compounded by the fact that because there's no aim or reticle, you always have to be moving towards something to shoot it, which means you are always drawing yourself in towards their incoming fire. There's really nothing to do about it. There's a roll, but it's not very efficacious. There's no iframes on it that I can tell. This is before iframes were very common for rolls, right?
It sucks, and the we're zoomed in enough, like things are big enough, which is impressive graphically, but it means that and there are long draw distances, but there aren't long combat distances generally,
right?
With a couple of exceptions. So that idea that you have to move towards an enemy to attack it means something. You have maybe, in most combats, I had like 4 Jak widths between me and the enemy. Sometimes a little bit more, but not too much more. So walking towards it made a big difference.
Yeah.
Like in terms of danger, which is the opposite of what you do with ranged combat. I should be able to plant myself and shoot stuff. This wasn't about expression, though. This wasn't about, here's a challenge. How do you want to take it out? Do you want to do ranged combat or melee combat or platform around it? It was about switching modes to now it is time for... like all of the combats in this feel like the training missions that you do for the guns. Which sounds like a good thing because you're trained for it, but it's not, because those things are just you in a room while things pop up to shoot you. And
again, this problem was solved by Ratchet and Clank, which, it feels like they saw Ratchet and Clank come out like, oh shit, we've got to have guns because it's like a Grand Theft Auto thing. Well, here, let's just implement it without any, again, because nobody played this as they were making it without any kind of, I don't know, idea about how it felt. Sorry, I'm getting flustered.
It's okay, man. It's a very frustrating thing. We all have a Jak on our shoulder
hold me
that
back.
is just like whispering infuriating slurs into our ear, just trying to like Clockwork Orange us up into rage.
Oh man!
So the platforming combat in this, which are both difficult, I mean, wildly uneven. Sometimes it's not,
Yep.
but you'll never guess when.
Mhm.
The are difficult, and there are no checkpoints in this. There are a couple of checkpoints. They're very, very rare.
Mhm.
This game takes a very relaxed view of how much you should have to redo when you die.
Yeah.
And their view is a lot.
All of it most of the time,
Almost every time it's all of it.
And it's funny because like you die and there's no loading screen or anything. You're just, respawned. But then like that quickness just means instantly back at the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's demoralizing.
Very demoralizing.
And then you've lost your ammo. And the idea here, so like in game design principles, the idea of having that longer iteration loop of having you go back and do more things means the challenge is stretched out. Your challenge is not to get over this ledge. Your challenge is to get over all the ledges perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Or not, perfectly. You can make some mistakes because there's a damage thing. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
That's not my preferred version, but I can kind of understand it.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I think it plays so inelegantly with Jak II is that I was constantly dying by mistake or falling off platforms by mistake because I don't think it controls very well.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would miss because I couldn't aim. Like I was failing a lot in a ways that I know I could get over it if I wanted to meet this game way more than halfway.
Mm-hmm.
But doing so wasn't like particularly interesting. It just turned it into a video game. It like beached it to adequate.
Yeah.
It never got more interesting than that.
No.
When you fall to your death, you fall to the beginning. Special demerits to stages where you fall to your death,
mm-hmm.
or you fall into a poison lake that just kills you slowly before you could ever get back to land.
Mm-hmm.
That just feels like insult to injury.
Yeah.
Like even if you make it back, you just have to do all the jumping again.
It's so bad.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
I hate this too. You have 8 health pips, but almost every attack does 2 damage.
Mm-hmm.
It's an extreme edge case. They do 1 damage.
Yeah.
So there's no real reason for you to have 8 health pips.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me fucking nuts when games do this. The way you would do this to make it work would be like how Isaac does it, where early areas, enemies do 1 health pip, and then you escalate.
Yeah.
And it does 2 health pips, and that's a reason to have 8 health pips and subdivide that way.
Mm-hmm.
Here, everything basically from the beginning does 2.
Yeah.
There's really no reason. It's just like this weird optical illusion to make the game harder or seem easier than it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's frustrating.
Yeah. But this means you can take 4 hits and combine that with the things that we said about the combats. You're always running towards danger instead of, actually trying to dodge things. And the complete, let's say, paucity of health pickups. Basically none.
Your defensive vocabulary is very little as well with that ineffectual dodge. It's really easy to snowball in this, and it's really easy. One of the most demoralizing things that I think can happen in an action game like this is getting there would be times where I would take hits on my way to a thing, and then knowing that losing would mean restarting it, I would just reload before I took that last hit. Like I would give up because I was, like I can't make this. This is just going to be. I can save time now by giving up and starting over now. Like
And
that's so fucking bleak.
If
That's not
there
video games,
if there are like 3 challenging things onto the way to the thing that I'm stuck at, and I lose health, like take a stray hit. Well, nope, got to restart because like I'm a dead man walking. Right.
Yep. Yeah, I can't get either end of this thing.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that doing the emulator and creating checkpoints helped with a lot, but I was still restarting checkpoints before I would actually lose.
Yeah.
Just because I had lost enough to where I felt like losing was certain in the future.
Yeah. And really all that is just an acknowledgement that this is a game that is going to waste my time. Doesn't care about it at all.
Yep. Yeah. Health pickups are found in red crates. These are at fixed locations, as we mentioned. The game doesn't have like a director or anything spawning them. They're just set. And the crates might have ammo or dark echo. And sometimes you will need one of those things and not get it. Like you'll need health and there'll only be a couple pickups in the whole level. The rest of them are full of ammo. And Dark Echo.
Uh,
Yeah, Eco.
yeah,
Echo.
yeah. Somebody's gonna send you a letter bomb for saying Echo instead of Eco.
I don't care. I do it. Dark Eco.
Yeah, no, it's like being stuck in the desert
AKA
and finding
Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, no, getting a chest full of dark eco is like being in the desert and finding a canteen and just opening it and pouring a bunch of sand into your mouth.
Yeah, it's almost like pouring money into your mouth or something. Like it's technically a resource, but you can't drink it.
Nope. Yeah. So this dark eco, what this is doing is this is fueling the transformation thing.
Yes.
As you pick it up, you will get you'll fill a meter, and when that is full, you can transform into Dark Jak. Kind of going into his werewolf mode, becoming a hedgehog, a werehog.
Yes, of some kind.
Yeah. You do more damage. You can attack faster, and there's a little bit more like reach on your swipes. But you take the same amount of damage, and you can't use guns. So if you trigger this in the wrong spot, you're fucked because you're just a sitting duck.
It's really indicative of the level design of this, that instead of being expressive, like here are problems, here are tools, choose which tool, it's more like they set out areas in which it would be best to activate Dark Jak. And you play through the levels, die until you know which areas are correct for that.
Yeah.
Like there are areas where this is really handy. They're like big melee brawls that will pop out. If it's not one of those, don't try this.
No.
And you can't know whether that's exactly what it's going to be or how long it's going to be until you've done it. So like even that contributes to this kind of irritating shuttle run design of getting here. Oh, a guy jumped out. This is cool. I'm going to activate my Dark Jak powers. And you activate your Dark Jak powers and you kill him. And then he's the only one. Then you walk up to a platforming section with guys sniping you. Then you can't shoot because you're Dark Jak.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now I know to reload. And at this point I need to remember that's not a Dark Jak point. It just looks like a Dark Jak point. It's not good design of a game to me to do things like that. The best I can say about it is it's not to my taste. I much prefer here are tools, here are problems, solve them as you will, than here's a key ring and you get to go up to each lock and figure out what kind of lock it is before, and then start over.
And then commit to your run. Or just know it ahead of time, dummy. What are you doing?
Just have known it, because this was meant to be played over and over and over. This is the game that I'm putting the last nail in the coffin on how long to beat as a useful metric for us, because it is not.
Yeah. No. That is based off of I finished with my play clock at 18 hours. That is not counting deaths and redos. I probably put about 26 hours into this game.
Yeah. It was a lot more than the how long to beat.
Yeah. So you can expand Dark Jak's capabilities by trading some gems.
I'd love to expand Dark Jak's capabilities. Lean back, take a big sip of coffee, and expand Dark Jak's capabilities.
You go to a spooky totem, and you can turn them in. You just buy them sequentially.
The spooky totem talks like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. Exactly, like actionably. Gadget. You can do like it does that.
That's a very good Dr. Claw, Gary.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I got a couple of voices in my quiver, and Dr. Claw is one of them. It hurts my throat. I don't do it very often.
You got other collectibles too. You can find precursor stones. These are used to unlock cheat codes and secrets and stuff. It's very funny when you go into the secrets menu. There's a free little toggle where you can turn off Jak's infuriating little goatee.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that little guy at some point too. But Jak went into the dark realm and joined Lit. It's really funny.
Jak, why are you a bassist?
Yeah, I've been picking up the bass. Well, looks like somebody's at least learning a skill. So this is kind of structurally like an open world game. We have Haven City, which is a hub, a bland hub.
Ooh, nothing to do in this bad boy.
You can't
nothing
do
at all.
very much, yeah. And there's just citizens you can't talk to who are just obstacles, and cops, they're just copsticles. There are mission givers you go to. It'll just tell you where to go, and you go inside their base. They give you a mission.
Yeah.
Then you go to the entrance to an instance zone. You go to a level where there's platforming. You don't do very little of the gameplay actually takes place inside the open world, which to me is a real misunderstanding of the potential. And when Grand Theft Auto 3 didn't do this as much as it should have, you end up going to instant zones with some regularity. But the coolest thing about an open world game is that you're exploring and playing in the same space.
Yes.
So the knowledge of one transfers over to another. Not the case here.
No, there's a few missions that take place in Haven City, like the hub part itself. Those are usually races. I'll talk about the structure of the city. I've got a note about that, specifically in the way that it interacts with the races that you end up doing.
Yeah.
I've got 2 quibbles with their choice to fast follow on Grand Theft Auto. The first of which is it makes the story into nothing but errands.
Yes,
facially nothing but errands. Every video game is mostly errands, right?
But speaking of this, we talked about it in Control, right? Like, the degree to which a game hides this or obfuscates it is there's an art to that.
Yes.
If you're an uncomfortable and unlikable pedant, people will say like, oh, every game is just that, because you're breaking it down to incredibly base materials. That's the same thing as saying like cheeseburgers is sushi because they're all made of matter. They're all made of carbon. Like, don't do that.
Yeah,
nobody likes it. So like, yes, games, they're all go clear out the basement. Once you get there, we got bad news about the vents. That happens in all video games. It's incredibly nude here.
Yeah, like somebody will just call you up on the radio without subtitles, by the way. There's no subtitles when somebody does that.
There's subtitles for other parts. It's this weird half measure.
But and somebody with a cartoon voice will say like, "Oh, my butt plugs fell out all across the city. Can you jet across it in 90 seconds and pick up all of them while under fire from police?"
from cops.
Yeah.
And like and the answer is I fucking guess.
I guess I'm going to have to.
You can't say that. You have to. There are only a couple, like the world is linear. There are side missions that are optional. A surprising amount of this game is non-optional. That is also a difference between this and GTA or games that it takes. Like, it is just like a complicated, fancy level select menu in a lot of ways.
Yes, a level select menu that takes you probably 4 minutes to get to make your pick. 4 minutes to get to the place, and then 4 minutes to get up to the instant zone. It is entirely non-additive to me.
It's very time wasty. I'm not saying this is the only game that does that. Like fucking GTA 4 does that. Like, you waste a lot of time going to where the mission goes.
At least GTA 4 added the taxis.
They tried. They did patch it eventually. I'm just saying, and they also realize that's a newer game. I'm just saying that is the Jak is not the only game that does this.
No.
It just sucks whenever I see it.
It's just it is facially bad, and I think there was a certain amount of gee whiz. And also like this is Grand Theft Auto for Mormon kids, like it's just kind of like, oh, like I understand that there's this game with the city where you can like drive around and like run people over and stuff.
But we can do crimes in it. Like, let's you should be a wisecracking elf.
But like my mom won't let me play that because that's rated M. But I can maybe squeak a T game in.
Home.
It's it's what you play at the rec room at church or whatever. The version of it here. So like I get that. It's just wild to go back to it and see how woefully insufficient it is as a structure for games. And I'm so happy that like it moved beyond that.
If there's sometimes people get frustrated at the line of thought that game design has evolved. Like, people think that like games have not gotten better. And that's like an impossibility. It's all of these things are good in their own right. They're equally good. I defy those people to play this and something like inspired by it, like play this and then like a Hat in Time or something. I'm trying to think of something more directly. You don't shoot in a Hat in Time, but something that takes a similar structure, and not say that there aren't just things that were learned in game design that are just better now. Like, I love old games. I play all kinds of fucking old games. I don't think that's always true. There are, but a lot of those old games are timeless. A lot of these things here are just pointless wastes of time that are not, that we figured out. Figured out how not to do. I really wish there's something to do in the city. This is a incredibly, I mean, God, we're just complaining, but this is a very story heavy game. You spend a lot of time in cutscenes and dialogue. I do not feel like this place feels like a real lived in place even whatsoever.
not at all. No.
Yeah, like this is just a series of hallways. Like this is one of the worst senses of place of a video game.
And like the only design that you see, like the only kind of sense that you get of this as a dystopia is like after about halfway through the game, maybe there is a wanted poster up that shows you and
Yeah.
Daxter.
Yeah.
Like
Who wants Daxter?
Say, I want Daxter so I can feed him into a paper shredder.
So I can juice him.
Yeah.
There's a, you can tell that there's one area where everyone has to live in the water, and one area where everyone gets to live in some slums.
Yeah.
And that's the extent.
Yeah. I mean, say what you will about like how crass the world of Grand Theft Auto is, and like how surface level that parody of American culture is. But like, man, fuck it, man. At least it's an ethos, you know?
Well, and they're doing things with it. You go to different strata of the city. You know, it's not impressive. It's the minimum.
Yeah.
You know, it's only noticeable when it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You get around on hover cars, which you just can take whenever they're anywhere near you. You can press a button to jack them.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. And they all handle bad. There are ones that handle better than other ones. And for me, they all, like the first time, I will admit, when I first started playing this and the first time I could do it, I smiled because I was like, oh, sometimes it's, you know, I'm a simple man. Sometimes it's just fun to drive around, like vroom, vroom, vroom.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, this is kind of fun to vroom, vroom, vroom. I hope this never requires any precision later.
Monkey's paw curls.
So if it were just a way to get around in 4 minutes rather than like 10 minutes, you know, I'd still be like, why is it taking any minutes? But I could get into it.
Yeah.
It's just really frustrating when you end up under any kind of pressure.
Yeah.
Which are the way that the cops work in this is you can run over civilians generally fine. If you run into a cop, there is like a series of alert states, but it's not demarcated, you know, so they can, you'll hear like radio chatter and they'll come after you and take shots at you there. Keep in mind, like your health is permanent. Your health doesn't refill. It does refill when you die, but not when you start a mission. So then you have to go get some health. And then you have to dodge them. And then all the control problems come into relief.
Yeah. When we say that the cars don't handle well, they're hover cars. And it's kind of neat that you can choose your hover level, you know? So like basically
it's so psychopathic. It's like the hover level that is the street and the hover level that is just the pedestrian walkway. Like I don't understand why anyone is allowed to do the lower level of this to drive right on the sidewalk.
Yeah, but like you always have to because there are no cars there.
It's the only way to avoid the Crimson Guard.
Yeah, the Crimson spell with a K and a Z. Yeah.
Who do nothing. Like as far as their entire purpose is to hunt you. As far as I can tell.
Yeah. And you're getting around the city that is not structured like a city. Playing this back to back with Burnout Paradise it's
fucking nuts.
Fucking hell. Whole districts can be dead ends, which doesn't happen.
Yeah. It's really weird.
Like each district only connects to two other districts. So say you've got to get from the like this southeast to the northwest. You're not taking like a straight line or like finding a grid or anything like that. There is no direct path, especially early in the game when whole sections are walled off to you. It is just a longer linear path to go counterclockwise around the city.
The road, it's like roads that were designed like the sewer maze from Thief 1 for some reason. Just long with dead ends, long, you know, or it's like a city that's designed like a JRPG dungeon, like a Final Fantasy 7 dungeon. You know, like a series of long paths with a couple diverticula with nothing in them. You know, except even then there might be treasure there and there aren't treasures here.
You do eventually learn this, you know, I did just by spending time or whatever, but like, I don't know, the number of times I had a race or, you know, some kind of chase or whatever, and then just like ended up at a dead end with no other way to go. Cities have like, there's traffic flow. It's not all dead ends.
When that happens, it's a cliche in a movie, you know, because like you're getting chased, you go into a dead end. Dead ends are rare. You eventually get a jet board, this little hoverboard thing, which I actually like that they give you this. You move around faster than Jack's like run cycle, which is great, which is very slow and very floaty. I like that you can whip out a little surfboard. You can do tricks when you jump. It's not like I don't want to do precision platforming on it or anything, but it did appeal to my like, oh, it's fun to have a little toy and vroom vroom.
Yeah, it's fun to have a toy and vroom vroom. You do have to do precision platforming with it.
Yes,
yeah. You gotta grind.
I guess I mean I didn't like the parts where you have to do that. I like the parts where I could just use it to get around.
Yeah. You also have hover bikes that are here. You might find a few of those on the streets, but again, because this is a game that is all games, you end up doing racing. And these range from okay to abysmal. If you're in the tracks, it's generally pretty fun. If you're in the street,
fine.
Yeah, the tracks have like they're relatively they're shortcuts. They feel like designed experiences, which is not true of any of the races that you have to do in the in the world itself. None of those feel like they don't feel recognizably like a video game to me.
When you're doing those races and you hit a pedestrian, about half of them you just shoot through. And the other half of them you bounce off like you hit a tree in another video game. And it makes the difference between winning and losing the race.
Yep.
So it's like threading this needle. You can make the argument that's relying on map knowledge that you built up from taking 4-minute trips from mission providers for the last 10 hours. If so, I don't think that's worth it.
No, and also like there's no visual indication of where you need to go, and there's no visibility or line of sight.
The mini map is so hilariously zoomed in.
Yeah, so
the mini map like shows you like less far than your character can see.
Yeah,
in any direction.
It's also the most useless kind of mini map, which is the one where north is not always north.
Yes, yeah, it's relativistic mini map.
Yeah, so anytime a waypoint changed, I had to press pause, tab over to the map, wait for the map to load, look at here's where this is in relation to me. Okay, I'm pointing. Okay, so I need to go left here. All right, but actually, wait, no, make sure that I don't take this third right. Even though it looks like it, because it's a dead end. Yeah. So picture a race where you're just constantly orienteering based on a pause menu.
And the alternative to that, like I imagine that wasn't the intended experience. The intended experience was just to lose until you memorized it.
Yes.
But again, that sucks. Like, yes, that's possible. That fucking sucks. There are also some mini games in this. I did not really do them. I did a couple of the gun challenge things because I was treating it like a video game, and I was like, oh, this will teach me how to use my gun. But I didn't do other stuff in it because I really wanted to get through it because I didn't like it. So aesthetically, this game, some of the is very impressive for its time, as we mentioned.
Yes,
the animation quality is good. If you want like a little elf dingbat and a little horrible little sidekick doing pratfalls and like accents each other and giving each other side eyes and sneezing and farting in inopportune times, all that stuff looks fine.
Yes,
I think their version of Utopia is very, very ugly, and you go from like sewer to sluice gate to like you spend a lot of time in very bland industrial zones.
Yeah,
none of which makes sense. I'm not asking for everything to be an MSIM, but nothing here makes sense for what it is.
No, not at all.
Not even a little bit. So there's no readability to the levels in terms of what would make sense for them to be.
When I want to like heap a little bit more praise on the animation and stuff. Compare this to the animation that is in like Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Like generally, even though the PS2 era kind of brought in a whole bunch more more high poly stuff relative to the PS1, things are still pretty wooden. Maybe there was like a little bit of like lip sync or whatever, but like not lip sync. It was just like sock puppet kind of stuff. Here, like faces are rubber. Like this is real time rendering stuff that is like as expressive as a Shrek.
Big time like actual CG cartoon of the time, which I struggle with because it's not something I think is worth emulating. Like I don't like that kind of thing, but I can't argue that it successfully does this thing. If that is the goal, it does succeed at that. So it's really bad environmental design, and then I don't think character designs are particularly strong either, but everything moves real well. This
game is also notorious for being a serious divergence in tone from the original Jak and Daxter, kind of taking it in this more edgy and grimdark kind of direction, very kind of just emblematic of the early 2000s like it was. And the first game didn't really have any of that.
None of it. It was a silly collector platformer.
Yes.
Yeah. Now it is extremely serious in a way, but like a very little kid's idea of serious. This is a game designed to make me roll my eyes at TV tropes, people using nightmare fuel for this. Like, it's designed for fainting violets who are like, man, it was really fucked up the way that Jak was tortured for 2 years. Can you imagine? And then actually
years.
The mirror neuroning a Jak somehow, which I cannot imagine.
Just imagine for all of 6th and 7th grade if you were tortured.
That's with dark eco. With dark eco treatments, even though it is all downhill from here. That happens in like the first 3 minutes of the game. That is the hardest I laughed at this. And I thought the whole thing, for a moment, I thought maybe the whole thing was going to be something I could appreciate on that level. Like, this is like Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. Like, this is grim dark to a comical degree. No, there's still a lot of jokes and farts and just like bullshit.
It's a real have your cake
stuff.
Have your cake and eat it too kind of thing. They want it both ways, because like it's impossible to see like the interactions between Jak and Torn of, both of these voice actors going I do to each other as like anything but comedy. Like, that is written to be funny. I just, it's impossible to imagine otherwise. But it also wants this gravitas of being like, oh, and it's grown up, right? Like, we've grown up with our audience here. You were 13 when you played Jak and Daxter. Now you're 15, and you're ready
Welcome
to see
pubes.
You're ready to see just how fucked up life can be.
Yeah, it give you something to break.
Yeah,
I really wish this was committed to more fully.
Yes,
because it would have at least made me laugh.
Yeah,
more. What we actually have is a very straight up the middle Saturday morning cartoon, but it's this Dark Sonic.
Yes.
Saturday morning cartoon with all the lore. Can we, when can we talk about Daxter?
We ought to talk about it now.
Okay.
Because Jak is pretty one dimensional. Like, he's just there to,
he's there to grumble and do whatever anyone asks him to do, no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's there to be the city's slave for some reason. Daxter is there to, everyone hates him. Like, nobody likes Daxter except for one woman who thinks he's hot. Everyone fucking hates him, but nobody will kill him. I don't understand why.
And he craves death.
he's inviting it harder than anyone has ever invited anything. Like, a man, like it's the kind of thing, like, I think about it's like a whole person made out of, like, you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, who is taking that to its illogical extreme, like, everyone just wants to punch this guy. He's constantly mouthing off. He's constantly making fun of everybody. He doesn't help anything. He ruins, all these plans, constantly insulting. But nobody just like kicks him, or nobody says like, hey, you can't bring a pet in here. Like, it's, this is a bar, man. Like, you can't bring that thing.
No, I just, and I literally just want to pick him up and then twist his head off like I'm opening a fucking Coors.
Yeah, until you get like knuckle cracking noises.
Oh yeah,
like a plastic bottle being crushed. He's really horny.
And this is also a change for Daxter. That wasn't his characterization in the first game, to my understanding.
He also went through puberty. He was 13 in Jak 1, and now he's welcome to pubes. He's so unbelievably horny.
He wants to crawl like bodily up every single pussy that's in this game.
Yeah, and who doesn't?
He wants to unbirth.
This is a crazy thing. So he used to be what passes for a human in this world, and he got turned into this thing. And I think that's supposed to be why Jak feels some kind of loyalty to him.
Right?
Like, I was expecting it to be like the Thing in Fantastic Four.
Okay.
Nobody likes keeping this monster around, but we all feel guilty. I know that's some Fantastic Four fans gonna be mad at me, but like thinking of that. But it turns out there's a lady who thinks he's super hot. I guess in the third game, Daxter turns her into what he is against her will, so they can bone. It's fucking nuts. He's not just horny, but he's also this weird deviant. Like he doesn't want to be back to his own form to have like regular, whatever you call these creatures, sex. You know, he wants to get real freaky with it. He's like Frank Reynolds, but not like
that was someone's transformation fetish awakening. I assure you.
Oh yeah. And they are right now the most annoying like steampunk theater kid that's ever existed. The also the big plot twist of this, I guess spoilers for this game, is the most predictable thing. It's like baby's first plot twist.
Yes.
Like, again, I can understand if you were very young and this was the first time you saw, like, oh, this other world is actually our dark future. This felt like I could see this a million miles away, and the reveal felt like nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's so straight up the middle. There's nothing subversive or interesting happening with the plot or characters here.
Every reveal felt like nothing. Oh, my first mission giver betrays me and is actually the bad guy. Okay, cool. Little
this
kid
guy
who
you
looks
just met is a guy you never heard of. Like,
that little kid he carries around that looks exactly like Jack. That's Jack. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Precisely.
Sure. New information. Understood. I kept saying understood in relation to the twist of this.
It's like me on Slack, Roger.
Yeah. No, you're it. Now you are the one who is it. Understood. Like, there's no other way to respond other than understood. Like, whatever you're trying to get at, it's happening, I guess. I'm stuck in here with you. Here's a point of contention. I like the music in this. This is done by Josh Mansell. Who is Naughty Dog's regular guy for the Crash Bandicoot series. It does sound pretty Crash Bandicoot-y. I think maybe the reason why I liked it is if it wasn't because it was that weird slow wave speeds that made everything sound a little bit more interesting. I think I just had way more downtime in this than Crash Bandicoot.
Okay.
You know, so I was like forced to listen to it more. Whereas Crash Bandicoot, I was being distracted by bad platforming. Here, a lot of times I was desperate to listen to anything because I was just jetting through the city.
Every
so that,
loop,
like, like that thing I kind of liked.
That was so monotonous.
It's very monotonous.
Every loop that makes up every composition is like 3/4 of a loop. And you know, it's almost like Philip Glass shit.
Yeah, it's
and also like each composition, it feels like it loops after 7 seconds.
They loop really fast.
Yeah.
And then once anything dramatic is happening, it just goes into like a John Williams impersonation.
They had different composers for the like actual like level music and for the cinematics, and the cinematics, whatever, it's, you know, cinematic music.
It's generic. Yeah. So that stuff I'm not going to bat for.
No. I just it was really grating how little variety there was in the music. I didn't care for it, and also just the fact that it sounded exactly like Crash Bandicoot when this is very tonally different than that. Yeah. I've seen people heap a ton of praise in this, so I'm on the soundtrack, so I'm willing to be wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Just honorable people can differ.
Yep. So the first Jak and Daxter began as this effort to make a graphics engine that could run a large world without loading screens. You know, they just put 2 people on that to make that. And then kind of every decision that they made, was to make a game and a world that showed off their tech, right? And kind of also break away from this linear format of Crash Bandicoot, right?
Yeah.
I have not played all of Jak and Daxter, the precursor to Legacy. I think I had like a demo or a rental or something and did like a level or 2. It's fine. Like, it feels Banjo-Kazooie, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
Like development on this began in 2001. So that's before even before the first game shipped. It's pretty wild. The development team and budget were very high for the time. So $10 million, 52 developers. That's nothing now. But again, when we talked about like this was like a AAA game at the time. This was God of War Ragnarok for the time it came out.
Yeah. But for kids.
Yeah. Yeah, very much for kids.
Yes.
There's not, for as much as this game is loved and this has this weird cult following, there aren't a lot of interviews or back matter for this. I also dug around there. I did not find a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Usually you can find stuff if you just do game developer interview. You'll see, even stuff like contemporaneously, from the time. No such case. And looking for one, I found people referring to an interview but not linking to it, talking about like, oh, people said the first game was too easy. right?
Yes.
Which makes sense because it was pitched for kids.
Yeah.
And their response was to make this harder without dedicating the resources necessary to play test it. And trust me, it shows.
Yeah, and they admit that. We keep saying people didn't play test it. They talk about how they didn't play test it enough.
Yes.
There's an interview with the developer, Naughty Dog developer Josh Shearer, where he says one thing everyone can agree on is that the game is just way too fucking hard.
Yes.
Go back to any of our episodes where we didn't like something because it was hard, and insert our we don't dislike difficult games bit here. Like Elden Ring, Dark Souls, like all kinds of super dense strategy games and things like that. I'm not against difficult games. And also, I think that this game is very frustrating. It's not hard in an interesting or good way.
And if you think like, oh, you just didn't like it because you were playing it on a deadline or whatever, like I gave myself lots of time in the lead up. And also we pushed the recording back a week to get more time to do it.
Yeah. So we've outmaneuvered you. It's just these are things that we didn't do that because we didn't want people, because we wanted to show receipts. We did that because we knew this was a game of its vintage and we're going into it clear-eyed what to expect, right?
Yeah.
Like when we do something from the early 2000s, like an action game, that already brings off warning bells to me of aging poorly. We knew going into this. Yes. So I started this weeks ago. Weeks and weeks ago.
Yeah. So this got positive reviews. People really liked the cutscenes and the sense of polish. People were really easy to impress back in the early 2000s.
Yep. Again, it was impressive looking at the very least. Like I imagine this being a little bit like a Ghost of Tsushima or something like that.
Yeah.
I know that control is better, but like a graphical showcase.
Yeah.
The reviews did note that it was way too hard. IGN ranks as number 8 on their 10 most difficult PS2 games, which is behind Maximo, Beautiful Joe, and Contra Shattered Soldier, all of which are hard games, even though what's really interesting is at least in the case of Beautiful Joe and Shattered Soldier, those are both very intentionally difficult games with very complicated systems to support the difficulty.
Yes.
I think that difficult is kind of not the right word for what this is.
No.
It's more cheap. Like it doesn't feel like good or feel fair difficulty to me.
Putting it in the same trench as Maximo, Ghost to Glory or whatever, makes a ton of sense to me, actually.
Yeah. I never played the Maximo. I was always
it's real similar.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But Beautiful Joe is a highly technical game. Contra Shattered Soldier is also like a weirdly technical game.
Yeah.
This is not. And like, yes, you can if you're speedrunning it. Like there is tech you can learn, but it's not the same thing.
They also put it behind Shinobi, and that PS2 Shinobi game fucking rules. Also very technical, but
yeah, it's not a character action game. That's the thing between Shinobi and Beautiful Joe, right?
Yeah.
So there's a remastered version of Jak II that's included in the Jak and Daxter collection on PS3. It's emulated on the PS4, which means you can play it on the PS5 as well. There's a sequel, Jak III, released in 2004. Apparently, this is a little bit better. I will never touch another property. I don't think I'm done with Naughty Dog. Actually, I don't know. But it's good with those guys. The Last of Us is their best game. Everything else can kind of go sit on a rake. Yeah. They eventually would take this racing engine and make Jak X Combat Racing before moving on to Uncharted. I can't imagine anyone playing this racing engine and being like, "This is good. I want more of this."
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it holding up an entire game. Is the thing there? I know people who go to bat for it. They're almost exclusively people who say, no, actually, that PlayStation Smash Brothers is the best one.
Yeah, I can't. Nothing in this gives me confidence.
Yeah.
And then other studios took the property. They made for the PSP, Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier, and the game just called Daxter, which is about Daxter, is a prequel to this game. It's about what Daxter does to rescue you.
Yes,
because hilarious again. That the biggest I laughed in this game, the very first or second cutscene, where it's been 2 years that you've just been being tortured, and Daxter's just been looking for you in this big anonymous garbage dump for 2 years. I'm not going to play Daxter, but the idea that it takes place over 2 years is funny to me. This Dragon Age 2-esque exploration of a Daxter.
Oh gosh. And grim news for us all. In 2022, it was announced that Jak and Daxter was going to get a film adaptation headed by Zombieland director Ruben Fleischer. So getting some of that irreverent comedy in there. I don't know who that's for.
Yeah, this is like a lost franchise that people want to have come back.
Yes.
Who have nostalgia for and stuff too. There's a big fandom of this. This is a well-liked game. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I like that game, you guys are idiots. A lot of people like the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're not alone. Let's get into it. We start out with Samus and Kira. They're helping Jak and Daxter bring a precursor ring back online. This is what happens immediately at the end of the first one.
Right.
They activate it. The way they activate it is Jak hits random buttons. Fuck off, dude. Like this is already so like too stupid to buy into.
Yeah.
Just like we found this ancient artifact. Well, if we hit buttons until something bad happens.
Yeah.
There's your inciting incident.
Just Samus is like an old sage guy. I think you raised Jak, and Kira is basically Gadget. From
there's Gadget and Obi-Wan.
Yes. So they activate this, and this monster emerges with his minions, and they activate this like time sled that they're on.
Yes.
It's like a rocket car to fly through the portal into this monster to stop it from coming into the world. But they end up on the other side of the portal in this city where the military police, the Crimson Guard with a Z, take Daxter away and knock out Jak.
It's worth noting that the original Jak and Daxter of the Precursor Legacy is a, fantasy-esque verdant world.
Yes.
So all this technology stuff, I mean, there was like ancient tech, but that was the thing about the Precursor Legacy, was finding all this old tech that may as well be magic because it's super old. This kind of grim industrial stuff is not, it's big shock to them.
Heretofore was not endemic to this world.
Yes.
Yeah.
We cut over to Baron Praxis, really bad facial hair on Baron Praxis, and it looks like he has a metal nose for some reason. He's voiced by the great Clancy Brown. He's injecting Jak with Dark Eco, and this is a thing they do to make super soldiers apparently. But Jak isn't having it. He's not dying, but he's also not getting power.
Yeah,
and this is a problem because a thing called the Metalheads are converging on the city.
Yeah,
these are going to be our other antagonist.
Yes, they're basically like robotic animal kind of things that come from this hive outside of the city. I believe they were the enemy they had to be the enemy in the first game because the Metalhead leader is like, do you remember me?
No. The enemy in the first game are the Jamaican
people
guys. Yeah. Yes. Like, I don't know. I can't remember what they're called in this. But now they're like second class citizens.
Oh, the lurkers? Yeah.
Those were the enemies in the first game, and this is all stuff I read online. Like, fuck me if I'm going to play this. They do this. The Crimson Guard leave, and Daxter walks up. He's like, "Hey, buddy!" Like, Daxter has the worst fucking irritating Bronx accent for no reason.
Oh, I mean, how many times in the past 2 months have we talked about like this being the stock character in a cartoon?
It's because of this. It's because it came up, and I was like reminding me how much I fucking hate having just a little wisecracking shithead.
Yeah.
So when he wakes up and Jak is filled with rage, transforms, and he goes, I'm going to kill Baron Praxis. And he grew, being strapped to a table, being injected with dark goo for 2 years, he grew a single soul patch. So far, I'm like pretty on board in like a Garth Marenghi's Dark Place kind of way. Like, that's very funny.
Yeah.
That's a very funny joke. But again, this is not, a joke.
No, he just has it for the rest of the game.
Yes, he just that's what happens.
Talking about killing people. Also, like, people remark that he's like much more talkative. I don't think Jak
didn't talk at all in the first.
Yeah,
game.
He wasn't voiced in the first game, so now he's suddenly a character. Yeah,
and that's using the word pretty loosely. Like, he just does whatever anyone tells him to do.
And maybe grumbles about it. But it's been 2 years, and we've got to get out of this fortress. We've got this simple movement, basic combat to get out of this place through the vents. And when we get out on the city streets, this old man named Kor approaches us. And Jak goes aggro on him. He's like, I'm going to kill Baron Praxis. Grabs him by the neck. He loves
talking about killing Baron Praxis.
Yeah.
Kor is apparently part of Resistance. He's a dissident. He has this little boy with him who looks just like Jak.
Yeah.
We're in something called Haven City.
Right.
The police approach, and we get our tutorial about turning into Dark Jack, turn to a werewolf man and fight off a bunch of them.
Right.
And Core scatters and says, hey, you need to meet a guy named Torn in the slums.
Yeah.
So we head over to Torn. Torn is this very edgy guy. He swings a knife around. He's constantly just like, I don't trust you. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nonstop, pushing believability.
This city is a hard place. I don't know. People can stab you in the back. I might even stab you in the back. Inside of me is an angel and a devil, and the devil killed the angel.
There are two wolves. He wants you to prove yourself by stealing one of the Baron's banners from a tower in Deadtown. And he'll introduce us to something called the Shadow. And I'm tired. And Deadtown is flooded with this electric water that you can fall into and just be hurt. You don't have to start over, but you can't get back to land.
Nope.
And then there are frogs you fight, which are all fine. They're easy, but not particularly fun. You're just going up to them doing that spin dash.
Bop them.
Bop them. And you're doing basic platforming. It's introducing crumbling floors, which are a fine platforming complication, even though it does mean you can't backtrack, which doesn't work well with the ammo and health system.
Right. You climb up this very basic tower and you get the flag, and as it starts to crumble, Jack grinds down a wire, placing this directly in 2001 in the 2001 to 2003 territory,
foreshadowing all the grinding he's going to be doing later. Torn is impressed. So we're in. We've been hired. We return to Torn's underground headquarters and learn the Baron has turned off the water to the slums. So we had to go there as well. We also learned that Torn used to be a member of the Crimson Guard, but he left because he saw the Baron's brutality. I love that this world is already so far. Like, we never get a sense of what this world was like when it worked.
Right.
Even remotely. So, like, this implies there was a time in which the Baron wasn't a monster or whatever, but we're like so deep in just dystopian scudge.
Yeah.
There's nothing to compare it to.
Yeah. There's no sense of what was lost here. Yeah.
Yeah. Compare, the way other like good post-apocalyptic media or dystopian media does that. Right. It's Fallout's trick.
Yep.
Contrasting the nostalgia for the past with the current future. We don't have anything to like, we do because we came through a portal that was our past. We never saw, it's like we went from 0 to 10.
Yeah.
Though, we don't know what the utopia version of this looks like.
No.
Because it was pre-industrial when we left it.
Yeah. Now they have hover cars, for God's sake.
Yeah. It's more future-y than we are. So the pump to restore the water to the slums is outside the city walls on these islands beyond the Wharf District.
Hate getting around the Wharf District.
Yeah, the Wharf District sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a larger area. Like, we're on a couple of mountains on these islands. The platforming complication here is we have these rotating barrel bridges where you've got to kind of stay on top of it at the right times, and also bridges with these moving electrical barriers. So you have to jump over the electrical hoop as it passes by. Pretty simple stuff. Feeling a little bit of the squeeze in the health standpoint, but nothing at this point. There's no like actual like death drops, which is good. If you fall, you're just like on the ground and have to get around back up to where you were.
Yeah, and this ground doesn't hurt you.
Right.
You get up there, Daxter turns the valve and gets sucked into the machine. So we get this little slapstick thing of Daxter being stuck in the pipes, which is huge. Like, who is this for energy? And then also just like exhibit, 200 in my, like, maybe I'm not into cartoons, like I just, so I don't know what, if this were Bugs Bunny doing this, I also wouldn't like it.
No.
I don't know. I don't need to see a little marmot get bent through a bunch of pipes like this.
It feels sweaty. Stop trying to impress me. Just be yourself.
I don't know what this kind of animation humor is meant to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's patently unfunny to me. There's not enough to it.
Yeah. It's designed to make, a child's, weekend disappear.
Yeah. It's a Cocomelon kind of thing. Yeah. So we go back to Torn. Torn is still withholding the meeting with the Shadow.
Right.
He's like, you need to prove yourself more and more. Again, the task structure of this game. He wants you to blow up this ammo depot. And Jack's like, all right, if it hurts Baron Praxis, I'll do it. And he's like, well, be careful. He said, no, I want him to know I'm coming. I want to know who's doing it. Tell him it was me, Jack.
I like how you said Baron Practice, like he was a mini boss that you deal with halfway through the game.
It's the trade practice mode that you can go into. I would love it if his that would be funny if his second command was Baron Practice.
Yeah,
that's a great idea. Yeah, hire me to punch up on this 20-year-old game.
So this level we're introducing gimmicks. We got some battle toads going on. You get into this fortress and a security tank starts chasing you, and we're running from it. And we are seeing everything through the point of view of the tank. Eventually this point of view is going to break, but you still see the reticle showing where this thing is going to hit. That is good. Because it's like right after they force you to, so you start out doing this tough platforming through a fisheye lens. Thing about fisheye lens, it warps the relative distance between things, which is not what you want in a 3D platformer, which is already, to me, I find it hard to read the distance between platforms in a 3D game like this.
Certainly harder than a 2D game.
Yes,
where it's pixels.
Yes. And then as soon as you stop having to do platforming and like maneuvering, then they get rid of the fisheye and then it becomes a combat challenge. It's really funny.
There's a reason why there aren't that many platformers done in the CKY engine. Fisheye does not work for that. This was the first time I died a bunch. Was this tank chasing me section. Again, like just breaking it up with this little gimmick. I don't want to run away from the camera. I don't want to run towards the camera. Really, I would love to run parallel to the camera if at all possible.
Yeah, that's perpendicular to it. That's that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, parallel to the camera is confusing. You can't see. You just kind of have to guess.
Can't see shit.
Yeah. This is difficult though. I think not as hardest thing in the game. Like there's so much worse in store.
Oh yeah.
You reach this area where you need to jump between these moving platforms. To get around walls, beating on these Crimson guards. And eventually you reach this point where you find the security pass, which will get you through some checkpoints, opening up more of the city. And we overhear the Crimson Guard giving eco to the metalheads. That sentence makes me want to die. I hate this, so it sucks, man. I hate this so much.
Come up with anything to call them other than metalheads, please.
And the Crimson Guards giving eco to the metalheads.
So like dark eco will transform you and give you powers. Eco is just like the power. It's basically just oil. It's like energy crystals.
Yes.
Yeah. But they shouldn't be doing this. They're supposed to be enemies, right?
Yeah.
So the tank finds you and chases you into the ammo room, and you have to kind of play Toro with it, where you lead it around the room and trick it into shooting the ammo caches.
Yes.
And when you hit the last one, the room blows up and you escape.
Yeah, sure. That part's fine, I think.
Yeah.
So you return to Torn and report on the deal we saw, the eco deal. And he says, listen, you need to deliver some eco ore to the Hip Hog Saloon. And its owner, Hip Hog Saloon, and its owner, Crew Torn. He has information. Yeah. Corb, Zib, Crub. I'm Crud. And I'm one of the Baron's guards. My name is Crud. So we have to go to this bar, but there's an alert.
Yeah.
Which means that all the cops are aggro, so they just shoot you.
Yeah.
It's just an endurance test to see if you can survive being shot a lot on the way to a bar.
Yeah. So you get to this bar, and Crew is very obviously a villain. Like they're playing in the moral ambiguity here. He is obese. He's a very ugly Australian guy, or a guy without an Australian accent. And he's an arms dealer who also is menacing us and sexually harassing Dexter, talking about how smooth his skin is.
Yeah. He's actionably Mojo from X-Men. Basically, he's very Mojo.
He's floating in a hover car with it is funny character design. His just little limp legs, his useless little legs hanging from that.
Yes. So he's Goon Sig, who is one of the funniest characters to me in this because he's exactly Sam Richardson from the Ghost of Christmas Way Future sketch.
Precisely. Yes, I'm glad you said it.
He's exactly that. Like when we go on a mission with him, it's the next thing he does. He gives us a gun, our scatter gun. So our first gun is like a shotgun. There's a little course you can do. These are nothing. I did them. Weirdly, the pro tip thing is to go into them just to refill your ammo.
Yeah.
You don't actually want to do them. You just go in there and get all the ammo crates. So we take Sig to the pumping station. Crew says, listen, you could be wastelanders salvaging stuff outside the walls. And you say, kill metalheads, get toys. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So we have Sig out here, and Sig is constantly like, it's a bony. He's getting up. Like he has the same voice.
It's Phil Lamar doing this voice, but it's like, oh, freaking metalheads! Ah!
It's exactly that. It's so the Ghost of Christmas Way future. And for some reason, Sig, who is the ultimate badass, is an escort mission. Like he's got a little health bar, a little circle that shows his health, and there's enemies everywhere. He's real fragile.
Yeah.
And this is not the first, or this is not the last of these.
No.
If you don't like escort missions, Jak II does not have you covered.
Exclusively, all of the escort missions are none of them have any checkpoints. Which on one hand is a little thankful because you're not going to get saved with the guy having no health, but it feels like they don't adjust the length of them to account for that.
No.
It's really rough.
And they also, obviously, the health pickups are not really a thing. So, like, the way you get around getting in a checkpoint where your companion has very little health. Think about when you did Crisis. In the final act of that would happen when you were escorting your CO or whatever out of the snow zone. You could have very little health for him. They just have more health pickups. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for like super easy mode. It doesn't need to baby me.
I'm not asking for the moon.
Yeah. I'm asking for almost nothing.
Yeah.
So at least Froggo's and things jump out of the water, and you have to protect him as he uses his Lawbringer or whatever it's called, his super gun.
Yeah. He does that. My problem with any of the escort missions is this is where the camera really becomes a huge problem. It is very slow. You can see on your mini map that there are enemies, but I can't tell if there's friendly fire or not. It seemed like whenever I fired, you're firing directly at the person who these enemies are prioritizing. If you're damaging them, I could not tell. It seemed to make them die faster. Slowly swinging this camera around to make enemies visible, or focusing in one area and then turning around and realizing, oh, while my back was turned, 10 more guys came out of the water and got them. It's just not. These systems are just butting up against each other.
It doesn't really work. And in pursuit of novelty, to kind of try to break up the goals of this, they again made the hardest thing.
Yes.
This should be a change of pace, not a ball busting experience.
Should be a fun little buddy scene where you're taking shit out.
Richardson. Yeah. How great would that be? Everything has gotten worse. A bunch more stuff just happened. So Crew says that the Baron provides the metalheads with eco, and the metalheads attack the city just enough to justify the authoritarian rule.
Yes,
so it's a scheme. The Baron is running out of eco, however.
Yeah.
And the Baron's turrets have cut off Crew's smuggling routes in the sewers. So we had to go clear them so we can get a gun upgrade.
Yeah. Working for this arm dealer guy. This is a frustrating mission in a different way than the escort mission. You've got to take these turrets out. They're always at the end of either a hallway or a very narrow platform, and there's really no way to dodge them. You just have to hope you have enough HP to get through.
You can kind of, they make a sound. You can kind of jump from time to time, but they have enough spread that they will still hit you a lot of the times too.
Yeah, there was also a little bit of Dark Souls 2 hitboxes on those things. I definitely cleared them and still got hit. So
Yep.
You get the blaster gun, which is long range. You think this is going to be better, but because of the range that the combat takes place in, the scatter gun was almost always what I used because you could hit multiple things at once.
Yeah, I would use this for bosses.
Yeah,
a lot of the time, which tend to play keep away a little bit.
Yeah.
We return to Crew, and Crew says, "Listen, racing rules the city. There's a culture here. You haven't seen it, and nobody talks about it, and people don't talk, but this is true.
Yes.
He wants you to beat the current champ, Errol.
Right. And we get the classic gag where somebody reads off a contract and there's all these little clauses and they do the Micro Machines voice or whatever.
A Lester causes diarrhea and death, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Dexter's reading it, so it's impossible to hear.
Do not taunt Happy Fun Ball. Yeah.
Yes. A joke that was old when Happy Fun Ball.
Yes. Yeah. So this sucks. This is frustrating in a way that is distinct from the escort mission or the blasters. You've got to make it all the way across the city in 3 minutes. 3 minutes seems like a lot, but you are all the way at the south. Remember what I said about the structure of this being like one long hallway with lots of dead ends that you have to like snake your way around counterclockwise to get where you have to go. This took so many tries.
Yeah. This fucking sucked.
No margin. Nothing.
Yeah. Again, if you're going to have this little gameplay break, don't make it the hardest thing in your game.
Nope.
Doing this at 80% speed, and with save states helped a little bit. But it was still sucked.
Yes.
Getting all this stuff in the early part of it, talking about getting stuck in dead ends here.
Yeah.
So the lady, we go to the garage where they, the race garage here. And the lady behind the curtain at the race garage says, listen, we're not going to let you onto our team unless you beat the stadium challenge for the jet board. And Jack is very horny for her voice. He recognizes her. She's very hot.
Yes.
And Daxter is also horny. He has a smaller boner next to Jack's main boner.
Don't talk to my boner or my son's boner ever again.
The thing that popped in my head when you said that was don't suck my dick or my son's dick ever again, which is dark. But I was going to say that they actually did a good thing with the UI when they show how erect Jack is and how erect Daxter is in the upper right corner and just have this little, meter. Yeah. And I like that we can monitor them separately. Yeah. And Jack is limp for like most of the thing.
Oh yeah. No, he's got bigger concerns.
He's got bigger concerns, and Dark Eco like 100% gives you low T. They don't tell you about that, but like it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking from experience here.
So you go into the stadium. This is not repeated again. You're like inside the stadium and you get a jet board. You don't have this permanently yet. You just find one in the street at some point.
Yes. Eventually you just get upgraded to own it.
Yeah. But you're like in this skate park kind of thing, and you need to beat a score. There's no combo system or anything, and doing the stuff that you think from Tony Hawk would get you scored doesn't do anything. What you want to do is just jump and then press the trick button, and then when you land, jump again and press the trick button. Yes. And then you'll get enough points.
Yeah, it's pretty shallow. We return to the mechanic, and she doesn't like us. She's kind of put off by us. And Jack asks if she can get you into the palace. And she mentions, there's something with an elevator. Yeah. So we return to Crew's place, and Tess is working at the bar. This is the lady from the underground who we saw before when we were talking to Torn.
Yeah. And we straight up get Daxter's point of view, like staring directly down her cleavage.
Yes. Yeah. He cannot take his eyes off these tits. Then he gets drunk. He tries to mix her a drink and he gets drunk. This horny little drunken goblin on top of this dystopian skeleton warriors plot.
And at this point, I want to take him to a vet. I want to cradle him in my arms as he crosses the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah. Daxter going across the Rainbow Bridge is like that's how you get me. That's the way to my heart. Somebody should write a poem about Daxter crossing the Rainbow Bridge as a review for Guppy, please. I understand again the loyalty. Like your friend turns into a marmot. Like let's say Cole, if you turned into one of these marmots, right? And you got really annoying because you went through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And then maybe you I don't know, audited a bunch of classes in the Bronx or whatever and came up. I wouldn't want to abandon you because you're my friend. And I'm like, oh shit, you turn into a marmot. And maybe I'm partly responsible if you turn into a marmot. But if then every time you were my wingman, all you did was be like, hey, Jack, look at Jack, look at the tits. Oh my God, she's got big boobs. I want to swim and I'm getting me drunk. Like you'd cross a Rainbow Bridge. Maybe I would just like drive you out to the woods and be like, oh, there's a treat for you out there, and then like drive away.
Yeah. No, go away. You don't belong here. We don't want
throw a rock
you.
at them. Yeah. The worst character. For my whole gaming life up until we did Ratchet and Clank, I did not know the difference between Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank.
Mm-hmm.
They all seem the same to me, and I didn't go nuts for Ratchet and Clank. I believe people when they say those games are actually very good.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say Clank doesn't talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a way better sidekick. Clank's just a cute little robot.
Clank does talk. He's just not annoying.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I couldn't remember. I thought maybe he just kind of did little robot things.
Yeah.
But he's at least cute.
Yes.
And he's less horny.
Yeah.
So I don't know. No. This fucking sucks. I hate this scene. Crowning moment of awesome. Very hilarious according to people online. Like this was very funny.
No, I want to peel his skin off like a fucking fruit roll up and then just put him up on top of my house as a windsock.
I'm gonna put less comfortable skin on him. I want to peel his skin off and then put other skin back on him.
Yeah.
That he doesn't like.
I was about to make a joke about Daxter being racist.
Daxter's probably racist.
He does get super racist with the lurkers later.
Oh, he does get racist with the lurkers. Fuck, man. Who are just Jamaicans, because those are the early 2000s absolute cultural fucking pit.
Yeah,
we keep talking about it, but like this also were in the prequels were fresh in our memory, and those were just like, what if an alien was another race? Bullshit. Like, God, this sucks.
Yeah.
So Crew comes out and says, listen, you need to collect 6 sacks of money from the dead drops around the city, and the way this is done is a race. The cops are chasing us like we're the Duke boys, and we have to go and pick up all these things.
Yeah.
In the city. City races suck. City races while being shot suck.
Yes.
And if you miss one of these things, like, it's not like you have a lot of options.
Yeah, like, no, you've got to like just kind of turn around, reverse or whatever. At least in this one, if your car gets destroyed, you can jump to another one. Yes. Other ones are not going to afford you that luxury. Also, these individual targets are very small. Later ones will have you go through rings, which are bigger, but this is just a checkpoint rally. Yeah,
and also still not my favorite thing in the world.
Right?
You know, not that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Getting this, we get a scattergun upgrade for this.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Now, Torn says that one of his informants is trapped in a mine that was attacked by metalheads. And he says something about getting her back on the throne before the Baron does something drastic. This is our first hint that the Baron has a daughter. You'll never guess who it is. Oh wait, it's one of the 2 female characters we've met.
Yes. So we go to the strip mine, and this is full of swarming bugs. Like, it's good that we got the scattergun upgrade. I think it might be an ammo upgrade for it, actually, which is good. But you just got to blast them away as they're swarming you. We also have these dragonflies, which are constantly like just out of range of you, shooting their tail lasers. Mm-hmm. Kind of a bummer, but we just kind of platform around here. We ride these ore carts to get over to Vin, who's just another really high-strung character who talks in a vaguely Bronx accent.
Yeah, like another comic relief character. This is like the high-strung nerd.
Yes.
He's firing his gun wildly, blasting, and Jack gets mad at him, broods at him because he tried to shoot us.
Yeah.
And then we leave. As we leave, Vin leaves with us explaining that the metalheads are stealing the Ico, or or the powers the city walls. I don't care. I'm done pretending this is a thing.
No, that was funny because you did a different one. You said Ico. Oh, that's good. That was a good joke.
I wasn't doing a joke. I can't get invested in this fake like fantasy group.
Yeah.
I can't care about it. I can't no more hear no more about Ico.
I thought you were doing like an Ico thing.
I'm not doing
like
anything
that game. Yeah,
at this point.
You unintentionally made a very funny joke to me.
No, I appreciate it. I'm just letting you know that intention has left my body. We're an hour and a half into this Jak II episode, and every time I look at the screen and think about another verb or noun from this game, I get a little mad and it distracts me. So I'm no longer. Intention has left the building.
Yeah. But they're stealing the Ico that powers city walls. Also, we go back to his lab and we find out that there's this drill that binds the Ico. It's been shut down because metalheads are laying their eggs on it, and that is draining the power. So we need to go do a we got bone mamas. We have to go and do a little turret section, going from turret to turret and shooting these eggs as drones come after us.
Yes. This introduces new enemy, these little spinning blade bug guys that swarm over you as you're trying to do platforming.
Yep.
Of these gratings that are over death drops that are temporary. So like, imagine introducing this new fast moving enemy that swarms you like the first time you introduce. It's not really the first time, but like donut drop blocks.
Mm-hmm.
You can only be on them for a second.
Yes. Yeah. The turrets are fine. There's a much more annoying turret thing later. Again, just errands on errands. Back to the pumping station stuff. Torn says, "Hey, one of my comrades is stuck out at the pumping station. They're under fire." And we get this mission briefing, and apropos of nothing, as Torn and Jack are brooding at each other, Daxter is spending the entire time mugging at the camera, pulling his cheeks out and going blah, 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 blah.
It's like a picture-in-picture mode for your baby brother who is holding the second controller and not actually playing.
Yeah.
Except the picture-in-picture thing, the jingling keys for your baby brother has a huge erect cock.
Mm-hmm.
Like
bigger than him. It's like an elephant.
Yeah, he's an ono bird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
Yeah.
So you have to get to this comrade. We've been through this stage a bunch, so it's not too big a deal. We find the lady. This is Ashlyn. She's a Crimson Guard who's not wearing her uniform. She's also very grimdark, but she is the honorable Crimson Guard. She represents like when this was not bad, which we already have a guy who quit because it was not good enough. But now we have a lady who recognizes it's not good enough, but won't quit. So it's the whole spectrum of characters.
Yeah.
Daxter is very hot for her.
Yes, of course. He was tatted up and dark.
Yeah, she's a suicide girl, but for Jack.
Yes. Yeah. So we're ambushed by metalheads as we get out here and just got to fight them off. It's another kind of escort. It's more just kind of like guard the person kind of deal.
Yeah.
Nothing huge. See the problems of enemies coming from every direction, slow camera, blah, blah, blah. And she says, "Hey, the Baron is planning something regarding this thing we've just now heard about. There's something called the Seal of the House of Mar. Mar is this guy who founded this city and apparently built all this stuff around and filled it with artifacts that everybody's trying to get a hold of."
Yes. If somebody tells you about a place, you're going there.
Oh, yeah.
So before we do this, we have to check in with the Oracle. We go to the Oracle's tent in the bazaar. Here, the Oracle is the Dr. Claw thing. This is where we meet Onan, the Oracle. Or no, that's not the Dr. Claw. This is different. That was a big Crash Bandicoot statue. This is the bird guy. It's an Oracle with Pecker, their lady. Pecker, a parrot.
It's a parrot. It's a parrot monkey who has a very thick, like Hispanic accent.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're still in the racism zone.
Yeah.
Of like just doing a voice is doing an accent.
Yeah. It's like roast beef as Philip the science friend or whatever.
It's the most recent episode of the most recent season of It's Always Sunny has good bits about this.
So Pecker speaks for Onan. God, I just put that together. Pecker and Onan.
Yeah. Was this game British? is this by the people who did
is this Lionhead?
Or what's the Conquer? Is this a Conquer game? So Pecker and Onan, the Jerkoff twins, they have information about Mar, but you need to go get 3 artifacts from the Mountain Temple. This was about the place where my will give you X, but you have to go do X, Y, and Z. Where it pushed. This is the point where it pushed my limit.
Yeah,
we're pretty early in the game still, believe it or not. And we got a ways to go. And this, I got very frustrated by this.
Yeah, you go to a big level and there are 3 branches and you've got to get the dinguses at the end. And each of them has mostly repeated challenges, but one unique thing to it. Like on all of them, you fight these large beasts. This has a big problem that is endemic to this era, which is if you fight anything big and even sometimes small things, no feedback on if you're damaging them.
Yeah. You may as well be bouncing off. And in a game that is constantly doing alternate gameplay modes that might be like a puzzle or something, you could be forgiven for expecting that I need to go do something different. Like I need to go find the switches or some bullshit. I need him to run into the wall so his armor pops off so I can hit him in the back.
All throughout this place, there are flipping platforms. You have to shoot them so they will upright themselves, but they will only stay upright just long enough for you to jump on them, not enough to get a running start. So you will fall short on these a lot.
Yes. Very frustrating.
Yeah. Oh, and they'll dump you off too.
Yep. Yeah, of course they will.
Yeah.
So as you're heading for the artifacts, we had to platform up this cliffside boulder avalanche, and then cross this pit that we have to go through. You cannot cross this pit with a double jump. You cannot double jump across this pit.
It feels very, very particular. I kept on trying to double jump and couldn't.
Yeah, it's just sticky.
Yeah.
The lens artifact path has the ground falling away, leaving these moving platforms you have to jump. So it's one of the few strictly platforming challenges. The last artifact has a puzzle where you punch these cubes to leave sides as a bridge over this lake of dark eco.
Yeah. So you get a lot of retries on this. You can just effectively go back to the beginning of it if you end up getting trapped. Just a little logic puzzle. But you get the shard and then you leave and you have all of the dinguses that you need here.
So we go to Vin's lab, and he says, we find out we got the dinguses, we find out about the elevator. He says to turn on the elevator to Baron's Palace, we need to turn on all the old power switches in the city. They're in the east part of the city, protected by these turret cannons.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah, we take care of that.
We do that. Yeah. But now that we have the pieces that we need, we can actually make a run for the palace. We can ride that elevator up like the mechanic told us to, and traverse this long strut that has all these traps to kind of reach the palace. It's kind of nothing to get there. And Jack looks in on the Baron and his commander talking to this hologram of the metal head leader, saying like, hey, we can't meet our quota this time.
Yes. And his little lieutenant says, let me take him. And he goes, no, we'll make him wait. And he mentions his daughter. He's like, your daughter hasn't exactly been loyal lately. Mm-hmm. She's been evading us, learning that Ashlyn is the Baron's daughter. Dun, dun, dun.
Grimdark Crimson Guard lady.
Yeah. While this is happening, Daxter sneezes.
Yep.
Just again, the kind of comedy beat that happens in like a short that would play before Roger Rabbit. Not even Roger Rabbit. Like it's Roger Rabbit's funny. And we get our first boss fight of the game, and we are a long way into this fucking game.
Yes, we are.
To do a boss fight. The Baron attacks in his weird little like one-man ship.
Yes.
Thing. And we fight him across this like very contrived space of 3 rooftops with electric fence recharge stations between each section.
Mm-hmm.
Where he gets different powers each time. We just have to hit him enough times. He goes and recharges, and then eventually he'll bust through it.
No, so you can hurt him. You have to shoot him when he recharges. Is the thing to do damage to him. And when you do enough damage to him in a particular phase, like that fence breaks.
That takes
and
away
then he goes to the...
I was unclear about when I was doing damage to him. I just shot him at both times, and it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
No, it is that kind of boss where just you can't do damage to it for most of the time. You only have a small window to get them.
It's worth noting that all of the boss fights in this game are boss fight cliches. Like I didn't recognize that was the cliche on display when I was playing it because I was just shooting him in autopilot, but that is what you're doing. The other one is a like guy drops bombs and you kick the bombs back kind of thing. Like they're all just the most basic video game boss fight stuff you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
There's not a shred of imagination on display in terms of like enemy design.
Not at all.
Here. So you eventually take him out. He shoots a machine gun. Then he has little missiles. They'll make little target reticules on the ground for you to dodge, and then shoots little fire tornadoes at you that you can also destroy. After you damage him enough, he flies away, saying that since he made you, he can destroy you.
Yeah. And just we got into the palace, we fought him, but that's okay. We're gonna go do other stuff. Yeah, let's go just peter around, just putter around.
Yeah, I sure could use a break for some weapon upgrades, some tasty toys.
Let me go check in on my dipshit parade. Yeah. Like let's shuttle some underground fighters.
Yep. Yeah. Return to Torrance Place. Core is there. City's on high alert. Metalheads are ramping up their attacks, and we need to shuttle these resistance fighters to their post. You're under constant fire, but this isn't too bad.
Yeah.
The Metalheads are now attacking Dead Town, a section that the Baron abandoned to the monsters when people were still there. because he's bad. We stop them from reaching the sacred site. The shadow might meet with us. We finally might meet the shadow. So it's maybe our final task to do the thing we were trying to do with our first task.
Everybody's just been dangling this in front of us, and Jack, because he does not have it's just air in there.
Yeah, he'll do it.
Yeah. We get a new weapon for this, the Vulcan barrel. This is the minigun one that also has like piercing on it or something. I just know that from reading about it. It's just a rapid fire gun.
Yeah. Shoots through ammo very quickly.
Yes.
Dealing with enemies that can fire at you from very far away. And little bugs erupt from the ground close up. So you're trying to, again, no reticule, no lock on. You're trying to aim at these things far away while having to switch your focus to things very close up.
And possibly wasting half a clip before Jack will auto aim at something that is a couple of inches above his head. Yeah.
Fucking Jack. We reach the sacred site, and Jack and Daxter recognize this as Samos's hut. Done, done, done. This isn't another world. This is the future of our world.
Oh, no. You maniacs. You blew it up.
You blew it up. You blew it up, Jack, because you opened up that portal that allowed the future to come in here, thus creating the future.
Yeah.
You idiot.
So that's the shadow.
It's worth noting at this point, for this kind of story that kind of like I accidentally opened a portal and ruined everything. Usually you're doing it in pursuit of something. I cannot stress this enough. The opening cutscene of this is Jack pressing random buttons on a machine because he's too stupid to live. Like there's no tragedy to this that because he didn't do it on accident. He didn't do it. Like there was no intention behind the act.
Yeah.
You know, it may as well have been he like sat down on a control panel and like if I can't explain the ways that is unsatisfying. If it is not inherently obvious how that sucks, in terms of story construction, I don't know what to tell you.
It sucks. Yeah, we should realize this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we go back to Torn's place, and the shadow is here to meet with us. And it's Samos, but he doesn't remember us because he's a time clone.
Yes, old Samos. He does look different, even though he is a time clone.
Yes.
He says, "Hey, go kill some metalhead scouts in Haven Fortress or Haven Forest."
Yeah.
Sure. Reach the door to the mountains. We find a spare jet board, so now we can have that all the time. There's really no reason for this game to be so withholding about that. You should have got that from the beginning.
Yeah.
And this is actually okay.
Yeah.
Here because we have the jet board. And this is a good jet board sequence.
Yeah, it's like a forest skate park where these monsters are flying around. You cannot go fast enough just on the board, on the ground. You have to do a series of grinds to catch up with them. And when you get close enough, like Jack will tackle them and snap their neck, and then they're dead.
Yes. Yeah. Not so bad.
Yeah.
Could be a lot worse.
So Samos's next thing is says like, hey, this kid that Core has and his little croco dog, we need to escort him to Core, kind of a little ways down the street. This kid was, found on the street, but his amulet means that he's important, right?
Yes.
Nobody knows who he is, even though it looks exactly like Jack.
Yeah, we know. And it's worth noting that people in the city don't look like us.
No.
In this either. So we fight off the police as the kid and his dog slowly walk across the city, mission or escort mission. There's an invisible arrest meter for the kid. If the cops get near, he gets arrested.
Yeah.
This is frustrating. I also don't know why they're walking slowly across the city. I don't know why the dog isn't doing anything. What's the point of giving him like a weird monster dog if it's not like going to protect him? I don't know.
Some kind of Easter egg. Got no idea.
It's probably a reference to something.
Yeah.
Core talks. We go to talk to Core. Core talks about we keep shunting between locations. That's what the game. Every time we switch to a new one of these missions, imagine 4 minutes of getting back to a quest giver.
Yes.
So it's going to sound like we're just getting these one after another on like a communicator watch or something. Typically, no.
Yeah.
So Core talks about the Baron doing some kind of dig, like archaeological dig. We have to stop him. The dog pisses on Core's staff. Yep.
Cool.
And we go to the mine. There's this huge drill here held by support ropes, which we need to grind over the rails where they're tied down to break down the drill.
Yeah. This is frustrating because the previous one had nobody shooting at us. When you are shot on the jet board, you are knocked off of it, regardless of what you are doing.
Yep.
And there's really no way to dodge or anticipate the shots coming in. So as you're trying to do this, precision grinding, you can just get shot out of nowhere for no reason. And then you're done.
Yep. We're going to kind of speed up.
Yes.
Some of the stuff, just because if this isn't running together for you listening to it, like I assure you, it fucking runs together as you're playing it.
Yeah.
We get a mission where you have to destroy some glowing cargo, surrounded by mines in the harbor. There's an arbitrary time limit to it. We show up to Vin. Vin says, "Hey, the Baron's gonna get me killed. The eco wells that he dug throughout the city don't make any sense. So the Baron's up to something."
Yes. So he gives us bombs, and we have to skate park around at this eco mining site. And of course, Dexter accidentally, basically sneezes again, primes the box of bombs. So we have to do this in 2 minutes.
Yeah, and we have to do it on a skateboard. So we do little Tony Hawk tricks up the sides of these craters to drop the bomb in.
Right.
In 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You have to be able to jump high enough to put them in there, even though you could just like dunk them. Fucking pyre style. You have to do it high enough to trigger the animation to redo the stylish little dunk.
Yeah. So you got to get enough speed going into it. Yeah. And 2 of them are like way far out. I don't mean that like in a Jetsons way of saying that they're real cool.
Yeah. It's just the time margins in this game are very tight.
Yes.
Core tells us about a shipment of eco coming in on a ship at the drill platform. So we need to keep it out of the Baron's hands.
Yeah. This is annoying. It is another series of turret gun challenges. But we are on a moving turret that we have to shoot down these flying soldiers that are coming in at us. The turret has health. And you can be completely taken down either by these drones who can come at you from any direction, or by the turrets on this gun that are on this ship that is flying alongside you.
Yep. We do this though. We manage it. We go to the bazaar and find the Crimson Guard standing around a crashed tanker. A bunch of metalheads pop out. They're invading. We have to defeat the metalheads alongside the Crimson Guard. What? Unlikely allies. Their attacks are getting bolder. The metalheads are going to take over the city.
Right. Then we meet Brooder, who is a lurker. Yes, the lurkers are still around. So Crew tells us like, hey, we need to free these lurker slaves from the Crimson Guard. This guy named Brooder pays us to do it. This is basically like Crazy Taxi. We have to go and shoot down the like prison transports and then grab them and take them to little waypoints. We meet Brooder at the end of this, and he's got a Jamaican accent, like he's a big monster, but he's got like sunglasses on or whatever. And again, this is an enslaved people, whatever they were in the first game or whatever. Daxter calls them animals.
Yeah. Dexter is still racist.
Yes.
Against these guys.
Yeah.
Here. I didn't find the mechanics of this that bad.
No. These are
this fine.
This, and when you do it again, it's super easy.
Yeah. This is not so bad. So we talked to Crew. Crew talks about how he once owned a statue that held the Ruby Key artifact. Do I hate video games? I don't. But just when I read sentences like that, I'm like, fuck this, man. Crew talks about getting the Ruby Key artifact. He lost it when he was smuggling through the sewers. He wants us to drain the flooded areas to find it. There's just kind of a nothing mission. We jetboard around. Hit the valves. No problem.
Yes.
Go back to Cruz. Daxter is bragging about killing metalheads in the last mission, which makes Sig overhears this. This is a comedy beat. He's lying, but Sig doesn't know this. Sig sends us to kill some combat metalheads out in the forest.
Yeah. And these are invisible enemies who will shoot you out of nowhere. And also there are big ones that will shoot you much more and take longer to take down. And you don't know that they're there until you're right on top of them.
Yeah. So we talked to Brother, a piece of the seal that Brother asked us to find is in the water slums. So we had to go to the water slums for this very, very frustrating mission.
This is like the infamous one. This is about where I got before where I it was actually a little bit later. Sorry. Here's where I started considering doing the cheats.
Yes. Yeah. They're just enemies that will spawn forever on the wharfs. You can't fall in the water. You die.
Yes.
Just like death lasered. as you try to escape these enemies from the water slums. This sucks. It shows up on a lot of people's hardest levels lists.
Yeah. The trick to it that I found was just to use the homing punch and do not care if you punch civilians to chain your way out of there.
Yeah. I basically have to.
Yeah. Now we have to do racing. We go back to the Coliseum and talk to the mechanic, and she comes out revealing that she's Kira from the end of the game, from the end of the first game, from the beginning of this game.
Yep, the person who was in the time cart with us.
Yes.
Who has spent 10 or 2 years becoming a mechanic.
Yes. She thinks that we can get closer to the Baron by winning the racing circuit. And so we got to go in and do the Class 3 race on these jet bikes. We talked about these in the generalities. You get like dash power-ups that you can use on straightaways. And you do 5 laps and high risk shortcuts, to get around. I don't find these on the courses to be terribly hard.
No, it's worth noting. Like, I also didn't find it to be terribly hard. It's worth noting, though, that like most of the best things I say about anything in this game is that it wasn't frustrating.
Yes.
Like, it very rarely climbs into a positive measure for me. Like, I wasn't like, yeah, hell yeah, I want to do more of this. It was just like, okay, that was fine. What's next? I like, there's one shortcut that I liked where you jump across a thing. It was like intuitive and good. I was looking up online. There are other shortcuts and stuff that I missed.
Yeah.
Largely because I didn't have to do this over and over again. And I wasn't like competing for times or something.
Right. Yeah. So we learn from the Oracle, like what those seal pieces are for. Like, we've got to get into this Temple of Mar where the precursor stone is basically a Chaos Emerald. Right.
Yes. We had to get the powerful artifact.
Right.
To get in, we had to find 3 pieces of the seal. So we go to the dig site. The dig site, super frustrating. This big open area, lots of moving platforms, lots of traps. A lot of the floor is instant death. Again, with no checkpoints.
Yes.
Because this game doesn't believe in them. It's against their religion.
Yeah. And we're doing a lot of like trapeze off of like very slowly moving hot air balloons where it can just be shot. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they consider it a form of gambling, having checkpoints. We go to Torn. He talks about how the Baron is deploying the Hellcat cruisers to destroy the underground out in the streets. So we have to take out all the Hellcat cruisers in the streets.
Yeah.
They are not as intense or scary as they sound.
No. It's fine.
They have a very slow turning radius. It's like killing a bunch of Kingsfields in the sky.
Yeah. Now we get to the mission that can kiss my piss. I fucking hate it. The race against oh no, oh wait, no, this is, sorry, I thought this was later. No, the Onan game is whatever. You're pressing buttons to match stuff. Like, you don't even have to really, like, it doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Yeah, it just out of nowhere we had to break things up. So you do some little like kind of parappa the rappa, but all the symbols are flying out of a cauldron. That's it.
Whatever.
After this, she's assembled the seal pieces, and the parrot monkey thing tries to sing a song about where to use them in a racist accent.
Yeah.
We go to the mountain biome. Put all the places in place, all the pieces in place. The laser that activates destroys the statue in the town square of Praxis.
Yes. There. So we go there, and this is Mars' tomb, I think. This is the kind of the second big dungeon that we get into. Kor is a little too excited to hold the precursor stone, and the plan that he has is to send this kid that Kor stole into the temple to pass these trials because he's the chosen one or whatever. But the temple's voice says he's too young, and then Jak dashes in and does the trials anyway. Another giveaway of who Jak is.
I love that, like, the actual temple's like, he's too young. Like, it's very, very OSHA.
Yeah.
It's very carnival. So this is a lot of platforming on traps and moving trapeze, like you got to know it's Sands of Time. It is very Sands of Time.
Yes.
But again, just no checkpointing, very, very few checkpointing. It makes it frustrating.
And then we get a little guest appearance from one of the studio's worst habits, which is Daxter just leans up against his support under a boulder. And then we have to Crash Bandicoot away from that boulder, running into the camera, doing jumps with basically, a split-second notice to get around obstacles. To
Naughty Dog, running towards the camera from boulder is the driving crooner. Like, they're just like, this is so good. Like, I know this is something. I know this is good. And everyone hates it. There are people who want to kill running towards the camera away from a boulder, and it's
Those
me and you.
People love it. Like we're the frat guys who want to kill it, but like everybody's like, hell yeah, I love it. It's like that one. It's so cinematic.
What I don't know what people are fucking talking about with enjoying that. Like it's there's a reason why platformers are like work the way they are, where you can see everything you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's so you can platform. Like it feels very essential to the verb.
Yeah.
Of the thing. I just really don't understand it. I mean, again, other than, if it looks cinematic, like it is just a thing where it was impressive because it was novel, but impressive novelty is not something that spends very well for me or doesn't last very long at the very least.
Not at all. No.
This is very frustrating to me.
Yeah. And then a spider comes out and it's the same thing, except they're spider enemies that you have to dodge around now.
Yep. Cool. You activate this blue laser, hits this big door in the main room. So we've done the first test. Second test is a combat challenge against these bugs. There are enemies you can't hit. They're civilians. Hitting the wrong bugs will cause damage. There is this memory challenge on the bridge. What is lightning swimming? I can't remember what that was.
You're swimming in a pool, and periodically the little lightning grid on the surface.
Oh yeah.
So you've got to time your dives and stuff.
Yeah.
That's basically nothing.
Yeah.
And the final test is this memory match with tombstones that play the little 3/4 of a loop that make up all of the music from this game.
Yep. It's Simon. You get to the central chamber. The tomb's voice talks about an ancient struggle between the metalheads and the peacekeepers. Mar built this tomb to keep the precursor stone out of the hands of the metalheads. And Baron Praxis shows up in his mechanical spider bot to steal the precursor stone, and we have a boss fight.
Yes.
This is one where he's in the background throwing electric spiders at you and bombs at you. And if the bombs are in the right spot, you can kick them back at him.
Yes. Yeah. You got to be at the right angle, to make sure that you're aiming at them. Some of the foreshortening gets in the way of that to me.
Yes.
And in the second phase or the last phase or whatever, where he is mobile, it adds a little bit of challenge to it. It's not terrible or anything, and also because this does not rely on shooting, actually, like it is not as painful to do this over and over again, which you're going to need to do.
It's fine. Yeah. It's just, again, though, it just clears fine to me. Yeah. And it's a video game boss cliche.
Yes.
So after we do this, we go to that's Act 2. We go to Torn. He takes responsibility for the Baron knowing about the stone. The Baron threatened Ashlyn, and Torn didn't want her to die because they love each other.
Yes.
Torn will open a door into the fortress so you can rescue the resistance fighters who are captured while he hangs around and plays Crash Bandicoot.
Yes.
This is a combat section with a couple switch puzzles. There are the tougher yellow troopers introduced and some jetpack troopers, which are obnoxious to me. And eventually you fight them all. You reach the prisoners. It turns out there are two Samos the Sages in this timeline.
Yeah.
They argue about the right approach, the older one and the younger one, before Jak yanks them away.
Yeah. It is very funny. You go to the garage and story is happening. Kara isn't there. And then it's interrupted.
Yeah.
It's always interrupted. The race is about to be okay. Yeah.
I guess I'll do that. I was in the middle of saving the world, but I guess that's fine. Yeah.
But while you're looking for Kira, this guy with Crimson Guard tattoos named Errol, who is again indistinguishable from Jak or Torn, comes in and broods at you, kind of bullies you about being an upstart racer, saying I'm going to end up with Kira because she likes a winner, that kind of stuff.
And if Jak had stopped thinking about his dick for 1 second and just save the world, he wouldn't get distracted by this kind of thing. Jak storms away. Kira questions him about working with crew. So Jak and Daxter need to do the race to get her affections back.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yeah. There's basically no death pits in this one, which is weird because the first one had more of them, and the third track is even easier.
Yeah. The difficulty curve in this is very uneven.
Yes.
The number of times we're bouncing back and forth between fuck this sequence and this was fine.
Yeah. So Crew, at his place, we go there and he's asleep, and Sig talks about hey, Crew's in over his head and I want out, right? Sig is a good guy. He doesn't want to be involved with this guy anymore. He knows it's trouble. Crew wakes up and says, hey, I need you to escort 3 of my men through the sewers to reach the statue that was holding the ruby key that you got.
Yes. I need that statue as well.
Yes. And this is an escort with 3 guys who are more fragile than Sig.
Yes.
Doing the hilarious Waiter Brothers the entire time as you're doing all of the work to protect them.
The trick to this that I found is to run ahead. They move at their own pace through this. You have to get to an area and kill dudes before they can.
You said that there are several points where like it knows that you're going to conclude that. You run far ahead, enemies will attack them from behind.
No, it certainly happens. You kind of have to do both.
Yeah.
Like it's not perfect for that, but that was the way I got through this. I found this very frustrating.
Yes.
Before I stumbled upon that strategy.
Yeah. So there's this big surge of metalheads in a very tiny room at the end. Pray to God that you still have scattergun ammo. Yeah. And we get to the statue and one of the guys blows it up and grabs this Heart of Mar gem that is inside of it. Jak didn't know about this part. Just like, oh, okay, what am I involved with? But his reward is the Peacemaker gun. This is the one that you can charge up, but it has a very small ammo pool.
The ultimate gun. It's the one that Sam Richardson was using earlier. And even they talk it up in that. He's like, I bet you'd like to get your hands on this, wouldn't you? I like that gun.
You know I'd like that gun.
Yeah. So we go to Torrin's place, and the 2 Samoses are, they warn you that blast bots are seeking out the hideout. So we need to defend the place.
Yeah.
There are 3 targets. These heavy walkers, they are very tanky, but eventually you protect the hideout.
Yeah. They start far enough away and then move slowly enough that you can kill them before the hideout gets in any real danger. Yeah.
Yep.
This is the mission that can kiss my piss. Beating Errol, the race championship guy. Like, he doesn't want to settle this on the track. He wants to settle on in the streets, baby.
Yes.
Because Crew asks us, like, hey, you need to throw this championship race. People they're going to bet on you because you're a glimmer of hope, and I'm going to, rake it in. And when Jak says no, we do this street race. This is and it's incredibly apparent how the rubber banding in this works. You can I've even seen like videos of this where there's a glitch you can exploit that is not available on the PS4 version, where you can hobble his jet bike, and even when it is moving at half speed, he still catches up to you.
Yeah Ludicrous. This took me many tries.
Yes.
Dislike. I also, in terms of the grand plot and the dramatic arc of this, I'm sick of racing. Yep. And I don't feel like racing is integrated very well into this Save the World Metalhead's prophecy plot.
Right.
So Vin sends you to clear a cluster of eggs in the strip mine. We have fucking done this.
Yep.
Jak says something about dropping a crate from a crane here, and we do this big, complicated jetboard course. Leads up to the top of the crane. We drop onto the egg cluster. Great.
Cool. Good.
We have done it.
Have you seen all this other stuff happening?
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
And also, just you've got to go and protect Samos while he gets a life seed.
Where there's a life seed?
Yep.
Involved now?
So he can talk to the trees. Yeah, we've got to go get this. And then another shitty mechanic, the fucking Titan suit.
I hate the Titan suit so much.
The Titan suit, which is incredibly fragile, moves very slowly, is all block puzzles. And when you're in it, the camera points straight down, so you cannot see where you're going.
Like jumping Flash if it never looked up. It's a broken jumping Flash.
Yeah.
Back.
You have no way to defend yourself in this either. And it's going to get much more frustrating in this from here.
Comes out of nowhere too. Like there were Titan suits, there were mech suits this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And now like we're like 80% of the way through the game now, 85% of the way through the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, hey, there's also mech suits. They suck, but there are mech suits.
Yeah.
We take the life seed to Onan, who charges it up while Daxter and Pecker fight. We take the life seed to Samos so we can talk to the plants about the future. We have to protect him from red troops and jetpack troops while this happens.
Yeah, and all of this is just to get another escort mission in and just learn that, oh no, shit's bad. Like we knew that. We knew the precursor stone was in trouble. If the Baron plans to crack this thing open, it's going to destroy the world. So
Yeah. This is the kind of game I want to shove down the throats of people who are like, all lore is good lore.
Yeah.
You know, like just everything should be complicated like this.
Please no.
Yeah, please no. We go to Vin's, where Core is bemoaning that Torn has sold you out. The Baron has taken the boy. He wants us to destroy this drill platform tower to stop the Baron's flow of eco. Daxter fantasizes about what he'd do with the power of the precursor stone. Horrible. Like, he's seen everything.
Mm-hmm.
Before these women get a chance to even protest, their clothes have fallen off.
Oh, yeah.
And Daxter's seen everything. The palace with, he talks about having a palace with a harem and a chocolate pool.
Yeah.
Just this walking UTI that is.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to get so many infections.
Yeah. And he's going to have this harem. Like, this is a real mucous membrane. You can't go in a chocolate fountain.
No, that's not for you.
Fountain, my man.
It's not for that.
Yeah, it's a delicate ecosystem. So we do this tricky platforming trap section in the Titan suit because everything sucks on this drill platform hanging over nothing.
Yeah, and then when you destroy all of these panels in the control tower, you have to escape in 2 minutes. I forget it precisely at what point. The benefit of the debug mode is that when you're dying, you can press R2 to come back up with to full health, and also you can press L2 and R2 at the same time, and Jak basically does a T pose and you can fly around.
Yay.
He's just standing there stock still and you just pilot him around like you're dragging with a mouse. Yeah.
I wish that was the power of Dark Eco.
Yeah.
I'd actually shave my beard into a soul patch if it allowed me to T-pose around town.
Yeah. So I would try platforming or try combat probably like at most 3 times, and that would be like later boners.
Yep, I'm out.
Yeah, my home planet needs me.
Yeah, because this planet doesn't.
Yeah.
Let's so we got to pick up the pace here.
We do.
We got a deadline, and this I'm losing my goddamn mind at how the Eco and Ruby Gem and Crew have lost all meaning. I just at this point, like, we're doing so many of the same things over and over.
It used to mean something, man. When Crew had the Eco and the Ruby Gem.
Words are losing too much meaning.
Yes.
In this.
It's time to go into the final, like the final bit here, the escalating climax. So to get close to the Baron, we've got to win this race. We go to the garage and she says, "Hey, I've been trying to recreate our Rift Rider." That's the time sled or whatever it is from these old artifacts. Yeah. But to power it, we need to get to the heart of Mar, which Crew stole. Right. Yeah. And then we're just interrupted like, "Hey, it's race time."
By the Baron. The Baron says, "Hey, it's a race. The grand prize is a month's supply of eco and a tour of the palace," which we could use to get close to him. I would like to point out that we did sneak into the palace about 10 hours ago.
We know how to get in. It's actually super easy.
We were there and didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
This could have been the inciting incident for the beginning of this.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a game where the Baron announces this, and this game is about practicing your racing, since racing is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just would have made more narrative sense.
Yeah.
This is not a bad race. You do the race. Baron Praxis commands his men to open fire on you when he learns that you're the winner. It's like the Robin Hood archery tournament thing.
Yeah.
Errol blows up trying to run into you. Tries to run into you, dodge out of the way.
Yep.
And he blows up.
Rip to that asshole.
Rip Errol.
Now we have to flee and get to the palace under fire from soldiers. And when we get to the throne room, Ashlyn holds us up. And it seems like she's, gonna break bad on us, right?
Yeah, betraying us.
Yeah.
We're undermining the war with the metalheads. Which side are we on? And we say, hey, hold up. Your dad has this plan to crack the precursor stone, which would destroy everything. She confirms this. She radios to Vin. Vin confirms it.
Yeah.
She trusts Vin. So she says, okay, we'll investigate more. Here's a security pass. Let you find my dad and meet up with Crew near the dig.
Yeah. And then we platform around the palace for basically no reason. Like, we could just go out the way we came, but
nope.
No, you just got to jet board and grind around light fixtures or whatever to get to the other, to get to the good elevator.
Yes.
The one that doesn't smell like piss. Yeah.
The one we use. Yeah. So we take this drop ship out to the weapons lab in the islands, where we get this frustrating kind of area with a lot of enemies. These conveyor belts that you reverse by shooting targets. It's very difficult with your lack of lock on or strong auto aim or reticule. And then go to these combat arenas where you fight these roller bots. And again, they're just really piling them on. The difficulty escalation at the end of this game just means copy paste more things.
Yes. So we reach the rooftop, and surprise of all surprises, Crew, the weapons dealer, betrays us. Talks about how much he loves weapons, right? So much so that he has repurposed this nest cracking bomb that Mar made to defeat the metalheads. He has actually repurposed it to open the precursor stone and harvest its energy. We can't let him do this.
Yes. He tries to bribe you with a gun upgrade. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Because this whole time I've just been doing that even when there are more important things to do. And they were for guns I didn't care about. He's like, I'll give you a weapon upgrade. You say, I'm no longer a hired gun. And like, you're a hired gun for a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. We get in a boss fight with Crew. Crew summons clones of himself to attack you. You can't melee them and you can't aim at them. But you do have to shoot them to clear them out. Once you clear them out, Crew becomes vulnerable.
Yeah. So it's that boss fight cliche.
Yes. After we beat him, Ashlyn flies us safely right as the bomb explodes. She takes the heart of Mar to safety and tells us to go after her father.
Right. And now with the action at its height, what do we do but play whack-a-mole?
It's I mean, and again, we're keeping the praise on the mini games of Final Fantasy VII. It's ludicrous that in Final Fantasy VII you go snowboarding right after Aeris dies.
Yes,
we know this. I'm not saying that's good and this is bad. I'm saying that was bad and this is bad.
Yes,
that does the mini games themselves are better. Timing mini games in this shitty way is a problem with video games.
Yes,
that feel the need to have constant gameplay mode shifts like this.
Yeah, but Daxter's like, hey, something's wrong with this machine, and you got to do a whack-a-mole. Oh, other thing about the about debug mode, you can just press R1 to win a minigame.
Oh, that's put it in my veins. Makes me wish I had done it.
Yeah.
You get this like time map thing that we're gonna need to use our time sled for.
Yes.
Sig is nowhere to be found. Crew sent him on one last mission to the underport, so we need to go find him.
Yeah.
And the city has now been invaded by metalheads.
Yeah. So they're just out on the street. If you're looking for cops to kill to get ammo, there are basically no cops now.
Yes.
So fuck you.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is not what I meant by abolish the police. So we have to go find Sig under the port. Go find Sig. And this is a fucking underwater level in the Titan suit.
So you have limited oxygen. You can't move. The camera's pointed down. You have two things that will chunk most of your health if they hit you, these mines and these jellyfish. You've got to deal with all of this while also getting to like little oxygen refill stations.
Yeah. Woof. You eventually reach Sig. He says Crew sent him down there to open some doors with Mars's ruby key. However, the metalheads were waiting for him. They streamed in. So he lit in some metalheads. Fucked up.
Yeah.
So we had to escort him under the port. This is one of this is one of the worst things that could happen in a game.
This is a joke that I would make. What if an escort mission was also a block puzzle? And also what if the block puzzle was timed?
Yeah.
And also what if there was
running towards the camera.
Yeah.
In the thing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So it's like he's taking damage constantly. When you push a block out of place, it starts a timer before it explodes. It will do damage to you if it explodes while you're pushing it. There are multiple blocks you have to push. And if it explodes, you have to start over again.
Yeah. There's no ammo down here. It sucks.
Yes.
Abusing save states, abusing debug to get through it. Reach the end, and Sig is cheering about how he's going to take the fight to the metalheads when a centipede drops from above and kills him.
There's also a centipede chase thing here too. It's running toward the camera.
Yeah. No, I mentioned that before. Like added to the litany of offenses.
But Sig's dead, or so it seems.
He's going to come back. It's supposed to be tragic. There's no weight to it because he comes back very quickly. Kira calls us to the stadium to defend it. She's finished the Rift Rider, but the ring is somewhere in the nest. Bruder arrives with a balloon to get the Rift Rider to the next nest, but we need to defend it from the metalheads while they prepare for takeoff.
Yeah. And so you have to escort the two Samuses who are floating the thing over to the balloon as enemies come from every single direction and take pot shots at them. It's the fucking worst.
I want to die.
Everything is the worst.
Yeah. So we beat it. We go to this construction site where Cora reveals that he's a villain. This is the guy who we saw in the first thing. He's actually the leader of the Metalheads.
Yes.
Conservation of detail ruins any dramatic thing that could happen in the story. Like, it is stretched over a long enough time where with more deft writing, you could get to know Core and have a feeling around this.
Yeah.
But we just met him. Like, all this stuff has the sense of being temporary because we're in a realm.
Yeah.
Like, we're in a zone. You know, it's the future. But him being the Metalhead leader, and he transforms into a big evil bug.
Yeah. Goes crazy up there. Because the wall is his ground. And then the Baron attacks him and Core blasts him, right?
Yep.
You know, he wants the precursor stone, and this kills the Baron, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, he, before he dies, he raises another version of this nest cracker bomb, saying like, hey, you know, this one has the precursor stone in it. He says something ridiculous. When you make a bomb, you always make two.
He does say when you make a bomb, you always make two. That's a real, the ultimate test of a surgeon is self-surgery. I was going to dine on this in an Abject Suffering, but it's too perfect here.
Okay.
In me and Liv's rewatching of the X-Files, the old men writing teen slang, a kid said, these two kids were going out in the woods and they had these girls they were trying to get with. And one of the teens says, and I shit you not, dude, her mittens are giving me a Gingrich. And like the Gingrich is supposed to be a boner of some kind. So I've been thinking a lot about mittens giving me a Gingrich a lot.
She knew my Gingrich till I fed.
Until I cheat on my wife. Or that's the when you build a bomb, you always build two. That does have the sound of a parable, but my man, that makes no fucking sense.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Oh God. So we reach this big gun that'll crack the nest, and Ashlyn says, like, hey, just take the rift home, leave our troubles to us. And Jack says, no, this place is worth fighting for. You know, and we go into the nest, and
it's
Daxter protests.
Go back in time and ensure it never happened.
Yep.
Like, do time travel shit, you horrible little fuck.
Yeah.
Like, this is a time travel story. Why? What do you mean this place is worth saving?
You can save it by making sure it never happens.
Yeah, literally go back in time before you push the button and shoot yourself in the head, and none of this will happen. So you fight your way through a bunch of metalheads to get inside the nest. There are big beast versions of them. All this stuff is tanky and sucky, and you don't have enough health for it.
Yeah. Can't run past it because everybody's just going to shoot you from behind because it's just a big open pit that you're in.
Yep.
So you get to the core of the metal nest, and Core has the boy in this bubble, right? And he reveals what is obvious. You know, this boy, like, oh, he's got so much. He's so important to this city. He's so important to you. Don't you recognize you, Jack?
Yes. It's a child, Jack. Jack was born in the future and hidden in the past in order to build power to fight the metalheads.
Right.
Yes.
And adult Jack cannot defeat the metalheads, like, you know, cannot do whatever he needs to do because he is tainted by the dark eco. This precursor stone, which is also the last precursor egg, will not open for him.
Yeah. Unless you think that it wasn't an egg. It's also an egg. Of the precursors. Mar built the city and the shield wall as the last defense of the egg. But Mars siege has finally been successful.
Yes.
So the Metalhead Maniac is a 3-phase fight. The first 2 phases are just shooting him in the center of the arena while his flunkies attack you here. So, and that's a perfectly fine boss fight thing to do, to have a bunch of, you know,
distractions.
Yeah. It's just, but keep in mind, all we've been doing for the last several stages is fighting way too many flunkies. Like, there's not enough of a change of pace to this.
Yeah. And the third phase is barely a change of pace because now he's moving around very slowly and just occasionally does like a pounding shockwave thing that you just have to jump over. It's literally nothing.
Yep. It takes a billion hits.
Yes.
The boy touches the egg and a glowing precursor emerges, telling Jack that the darkness in him is now balanced out by light. Jack and the others can't go to their own time. They have to send the Rift Rider with Samos and the boy back so they can complete the time loop. Because otherwise this will never happen, which apparently would be bad. For some reason.
Yeah, no, if they could make it not happen, that'd be really good for me, actually.
Ethically responsible.
I would not have to waste 2 weeks of my summer playing this.
Yeah. So we get a little, that's the end. We get a little epilogue. Time passes, and Ashlyn forces Torn, who is now the governor, to go to the party at Jack's place, which is the bar, or like Daxter's place.
Yeah.
Daxter now owns this bar that was Crew's place, opens it his own with Core's head as a decoration.
Mm-hmm. The head of the metalheads. Yeah. And as they're gathering, Sig comes in. Look who survived. They couldn't kill me. You know?
He literally just pops in. He's literally lousy bonies. So he'll be alive in future sequels and spinoffs. Samos tells us that there are still adventures awaiting us. Now that the precursors are back, and we still had to find Mar. We'll do it in Jak
III, the thrilling conclusion.
The game I wouldn't play with your hands.
No.
And time. I did. Like I said, I was slightly warmer on this than you because I think that I didn't do a lot of games like this at the time, right? Like this was a big thing in the 2000s, but I wasn't playing games like this. I'm not saying that's a big time. This is when I realized like shit like Rogue Legacy sucks. Yeah. Like I was still beating my head against that stone, right?
You mean Rogue Galaxy?
Rogue Galaxy, not Rogue Legacy. Yeah, I had a future portal. I went to the future and I found a young Gary.
The structure of this game is flawed.
Rogue Galaxy. Shit like that. Like I didn't have good taste. I'm not trying to taste flex on anybody.
Right.
But I never played anything like this. So I was kind of interested in like this weird transitional period where games just tried to do everything badly. And all shock and awe, and then realize like, no, that actually happens a lot now. Yeah. And it also happens with Naughty Dog, where now Naughty Dog's whole thing is huge graphical powerhouses. Specifically the Uncharted games have these little mini game like sequences. Like it's time for climbing, it's time for shooting, it's time for melee, it's time for this. Like it's the same kind of variety pack stuff. It's just they don't emphasize challenge, and it just makes it a lot better. Like it's a really bad combination. Yeah. I think. And even just talking about this fucking exhausted me. Like all of these verbs, trying to care about the precursors and the midichlorians and the, all of this shit. Yeah. I cannot imagine.
No, I can't imagine caring about it. I know people do. I'm positive there's fan fiction and stuff. People are role played as these. Like it's fine. That's actually not really that's not my problem with this at all. It's just not for me. Like it's embarrassing, but whatever. People can like what they like. It's fine. It's just to say that this is challenging actually does a disservice to the word, and I think flattens a lot of what is really wrong with this. And if it feels like we hopped around and got really fast, well, we did. But also, like each mission, like the stuff that you are doing is broken in the way that this game is broken because of the checkpointing, and then just the way that it just is like, nope, do it again. Nope, do it again.
Yeah.
All of that. But also like has like just like one mechanic that shows like, all right, well, just here's an awful taste that goes with this awful taste. Like, why don't these work together? Well, because neither part is good. Because like you had a shitty foundation and you put a horrible scenario on top of it, and then it's just that over and over again on top of again a story that does nothing to hide. Like, hey, I'm this other dipshit you haven't thought about in a while. Go do a functionally identical mission for me, because this is Grand Theft Auto times, and you have to. We're going to make you drive across the city because that apparently adds value somehow.
It's unusually repetitious.
Yeah.
As a game, like the mission structures, we were hopping around a lot, but you end up doing a lot of the same things for a game that emphasizes variety. It gets a lot of the variety not from, like new mix-ups or new twist on challenge. Like there are a lot of very, I think kind of inarguable game design things this game decides not to engage with. Things like setting up preliminary versions of a challenge and then doing twist on it. Things like that are just classic game design shit.
Yeah.
And the game just doesn't seem to engage with that very much.
Yeah.
The reason why I bring up the story stuff as being generic, like people can obviously like what they're going to like and everything. I just, again, the perspective of coming at this from, my age, never having gone and played this when I was younger, like it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not for me. And the elements of it that should be timeless, that could be for me, which are the video game elements, are really, really bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, fuck this. I did not like this game.
Yeah. And I'm sorry if we excoriated something that is really important to you, Eric. Thank you so much for your support and for backing us. Please understand we have no hate in our heart for you. Like this is a big important series, right? It's a whole era from a studio that is still shaping a lot of games right now. Like it is really worth going to and talking about this. But Eric is the only person I'm going to apologize to. I cannot have your nostalgia. And if you are defending this, you are either being contrarian or you have not played this for long enough that your mind has completely elided all of the bullshit,
the
to
frustrations.
it. Yeah, I just had to go through this. Trust me, this does not function as a video game because of its shortcomings.
As well as you think.
Yeah.
If you have things to say about this, you have until the 15th of July, so it'll be too late, or the day of you hear this.
Yeah,
you can send in. So if you hear this episode, you can still send things in. If you have things to say about this, Burnout Paradise, or Cadence of Hyrule, go to Duckfeed.tv/contact. Send them in. Cadence of Hyrule is our premium episode. There, so you need the Patreon for that. If you have things to say about next month's games, that deadline is August 15th.
Yes. Those games are Mystical Ninja 64, starring Gilman. We have a two-parter. We have 2 episodes about Dragon Quest IV. And then the premium episode for that month is Cruelty Squad. Like Gary said, the deadline is August the 15th. If you have thoughts about multiple games, please write multiple responses. That just makes our job possible. Also, if you want to hear the full versions of those premium episodes, everybody gets the generalities. But you can back us at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv in order to get those. At $5 a month, you get those plus a whole bunch of bonus content.
Yeah. If you are a non-white, non-straight, non-cis person and you've got a project you'd like us to highlight, please send me an email at gary@duckfeed.tv. Include pronunciation and pronouns, things like that. This month, I want to draw some attention to the Kitchfork podcast. This is Max and Liz Rikerson, who we know. We've done one of her games on Abject Suffering. Follow her on Twitter. She is a Doom, very knowledgeable about the Doom series and games in general. This is a anti-nostalgic examination of indie music culture in the aughts and hipster culture through the lens of Pitchfork.
Nice.
So for people who lived that was a thing. There was so each week they pick a significant album from that era and use it as a jumping off point. Talk about where indie music was at the time, personal experiences with that music, things like that.
Ooh, this sounds really cool, actually, to me. Yeah, that was my era of being into music. So shit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've known about this podcast for a long time, and just I don't want to blow up anybody's spot. I was like, so more people should listen to this. This would be good for this thing. I just didn't want to blow anybody's spot, so I'm glad Max reached out.
Yeah. What game of Liz's did we do? Was that the the Corpse World one?
I think it was that. I don't remember though, and if I'm wrong, I might be wrong. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I just know that we have done one. Also, you can so write in if you have anything. Check that out. That's Kitchfork, that podcast. And if you can also leave us ratings, reviews on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, wherever you like. And big thanks to Gwen, our producer, for editing this episode.
Yeah. Thank you, Gwen, for all of your help.
We really appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Until next time, man, don't play Jak II.
I don't think so.
No.